Hello. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. It appears as though we are streaming live on Rumble, which is nice. And it also appears as though we are streaming on Facebook. Hi, Mr. Ben. What's up? You want to join today's program? Mr. Bean, my cat, has made an appearance. He heard me talking. Here, do you want to scoot over here? Come on, bud. Come on up. I encourage you to get your favorite beverage and your favorite pet. Mr. Bean came over to say hello. He loves to see what's going on. Streaming live on Facebook. Fantastic. Does this say that Jim Rowland is watching? Excellent. Hello, Jimmy. Fake news, TNAM preparedness, and TNAM's The Agree to Disagree show is where we are streaming. And I'll say join our show live. Click now. Good. We appear to be up and going. Let's launch the program, shall we? Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere in between two formerly tariffed nations. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Monday, April 7, 2025, and this is the TNAM AM Show, a division of the Agree to Disagree show, which is the podcast you'll find on Spotify and iTunes. Subscribe to the Agree to Disagree show, all here on the new American media, because the old American media has failed you. Yes, we are here for another episode of Unpacking the News. Jim, there you go. What up? There he is, everybody. Jim Rowland. For everybody else, please leave your comments. Hit like, hit subscribe. If you're on an app where it has hearts or thumbs up buttons, go ahead and hit a bunch of those. It shows the algorithm that people are engaged in, and the algorithm, the all-knowing, all-powerful algorithm will say, oh, maybe we should show the TNAM AM Show, a division of the Agree to Disagree show, on the new American media to more people, because the people who are watching are enjoying it. So all of the comments that you leave, that's a good thing. Rumble has frozen. Let's see if that jumps back in. Oh, here's another chance to test if D Live is working. Still shows that the streamer is offline. I cannot make head nor tails. Test from D Live chat. I'm getting the chat is jumping through in the comments. We are streaming on Kick. Kick test chat. And then what's the new one? Twitch. There we go. We are. So this is Kick chat test. So I've put all of those together, and those should jump over into our comments section right here. So make sure you're following us in all of the places, because YouTube and Meta, the new American media has been heavily censored over the years. So the places where I would ask you to connect with us are as follows. Search the new American media on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, D Live, and YouTube. Search the new American media. On Telegram and Signal, we're TNAM and TNAM chat. As I said, our podcast is the Agree to Disagree show on Spotify and Apple, and then also on X at American_media_. We are independent journalism at its finest, and we do not take marching orders from Big Pharma, so we're not cajoled into what we may and may not cover on the news. That being said, We're putting the ticker at the bottom of the screen. If anybody out there would like to sign up to become a regular monthly Patreon member, patreon.com/the New American Media. Thank you to everybody who has done that. And the new ones from the last week who have joined, thank you. And of course, if you're just old school and want to shoot a Venmo over to buy us a cup of coffee or pay the electric bill for a month, it depends on how much you're earning, how much you have in the coffers, you know. We're on Venmo at Brian Engelman, Cash App, $ Brian Engelman, and PayPal at Fuzz Installment. All of that is on the screen. I would also encourage you to check out our TNAM documentary, Hurricane Helene, Help on the Way. Of course, the reason why we ask for your donations is because we spend thousands of dollars going to the Libertarian Convention in D.C., going to the inauguration in D.C., going to January 6th in D.C., going to the Chicago Democrat Convention last year, going to the Libertarian Party Convention in D.C. Did I mention that already? And then Milwaukee for the Republican Convention last year. Yeah, those thousands add up, so all of your donations definitely help. And we did go on a fact-finding mission. Blake Wally and myself went to go visit a man named Grizzly. And if you check out our documentary, Hurricane Helene, Help on the Way, that is on the end of the video. It shows if you would like to donate to Grizzly. He's making donation runs down to North Carolina. But yeah, we filmed a documentary, and we would hope that you would check that out and share that with your people as well. So today we are going to talk about all the things in the news. In the comments section, what do you think is the biggest news story of the day? Leave your comment. What do you think? Like, what's most interesting to you? If it's something we haven't covered, I'll see if we can add it to the stack for today's program. As for now, I think what we're going to do is jump into our Instagram feed. Our Instagram feed will give you a highlight of some of the stories that we're going to cover on a daily basis. Of course, we're going to talk about don't be a PANICAN. There's a Republican and a PANICAN. Don't be a PANICAN. President Trump is talking about let these tariff talks, let them work their way out. By the way, if the Dow is down 10%, 15%, might be a good time to buy. Because you're seeing a lot of nations say, whoa, hold on. Don't tariff our stuff coming into your country. You're our biggest market. Okay, cool. We'll drop your tariffs and we'll talk. That's what's going on right now. And the lying legacy media wants to push panic porn down your gullet. They're addicted to pushing panic porn. Don't let them. Don't buy into it. Don't sign off on it. Don't allow it. All right? These are decades-long overdue corrections to how NATO has been funded. The U.S. has been paying way too much of this, only to get ripped off in trade deals. And we've been allowing ourselves to get ripped off in trade deals for far too many decades. We're changing course now. Oh, there's a little volatility. Yeah, there probably will be. And there's a bunch of nations who are already saying, get me out of this. So let's unpack everything going on. When you're trying to figure out where we're at, look at Milton Friedman. Let's start there. That's usually a good place to begin. Can I click on this? Do I have to click a second page? Let's try it. Oh, there we go. Click post. Here we go. I'm trying to see the post. It's not working. I hope this story still shows up. No! Milton Friedman is gone. That was the story that I had. Let me try to find you this one. Milton Friedman tariff. Maybe I can get this video to pop in a different place. All right, here we go. We'll share it from here. Let's get you onto our X feed at American_media_. Milton Friedman talking about the Great Depression. Was it caused by tariffs? You've heard this. What does he have to say? Milton Friedman, one of the smartest people in economics that you could listen to.
Look, the Federal Reserve Board was established. Federal Reserve System was established in 1914. Started operation in 1914. It presided over a doubling of prices during World War I. It produced a major collapse in 1921. It had a good period from about 1922 to about 28. Then it undertook actions which led to a recession in 1929 and 30, and it converted that recession by its actions into the Great Depression. The major villain in the Great Depression was, in my opinion, unquestionably, the Federal Reserve System.
Here's another one, Milton Friedman. Tariffs, free trade, economics, learn from smart people. Shared from Thomas Sowell, quotes. Thomas Sowell, one of the smarter minds.
President Reagan put this very well once in a speech he gave in San Francisco, in which he said, you know, let's suppose three of us are out in a boat in the ocean. And one of the fellows in there takes out a gun and shoots holes in the bottom of the boat. Is it the sensible thing for the others of us to do, to take out our guns and shoot more holes in the bottom of the boat? That's kind of a silly notion, isn't it? But yet that is exactly the notion of protection and retaliation. Suppose Japan and Europe do, and they do, no question, impose protectionist tariffs. That hurts them, it hurts us. If we turn around and impose protectionist tariffs on them in retaliation, all we do is to hurt ourselves some more and to hurt them some more. That we're just shooting additional holes in the bottom of the boat. It doesn't make any sense. The best thing in the world would be for all countries to engage in free trade. But even if other countries don't, then the sensible, rational thing for us to do, all by ourselves, after all, we're the great leader of the free world. We're not simply a camp follower. The idea of our going around and imposing quotas on imports from Hong Kong and from Singapore and from all those other terribly threatening countries, it seems to me it's just demeaning and degrading for a great power to engage in acts like that. So in my opinion, the right course of action for the United States would be unilaterally to get rid of its restrictions and say to the world, come and sell your goods here. We're delighted to sell to you. We're delighted to buy from you. We're delighted to sell to you.
And now that is not what Donald Trump is doing, what President Trump is doing. He's saying tit for tat. You tariff me, I'm going to tariff you. He talks all the time about how America used to be a great wealthy nation with tariffs and we didn't have an income tax. Can't we get back to that? You've known that our system has been broken for a long time. You don't end up with $36 trillion on a credit card if you have your house in order. Everything's been in chaos. It's been in chaos for decades. Really ramped up since 9/11, this insane spending. Now, what just happened here? Instagram said we suspect automated behavior on your account. Ensure that no other users or tools have access to your account and that you're following our terms of use. Also consider changing your password to a stronger one. The fudge is that? Okay, that's weird. And Rumble has paused. All right, things are going weird here. We're going to plow through. Well, Milton Friedman is just drop all of the tariffs and let free trade come through. Let the world offer their products as cheap as possible. Well, I think what you're trying to get to is the threat of these other nations not being able to sell their stuff at their cheap prices to negotiate dropping the tariffs on our stuff trying to be sold over there. That appears to be the game plan, and that appears to make sense to me. Here's one more from Milton Friedman.
The political reason is fairly straightforward. The political reason is that the interests that press for protection are concentrated. The people who are harmed by protection are spread and diffused. Indeed, the very language shows the political pressure. We call a tariff a protective measure. It does protect. It protects the consumer very well against one thing. It protects the consumer against low prices. The political reason is fairly straightforward.
It protects the consumer against low prices. But once again, I think you're going to have to understand what's happening with the tariffs. Are they supposed to be permanent, or are they supposed to get the tariffs removed against the United States? You're seeing a lot of countries working to remove the tariffs on the United States right now. And I am really confused what's happening with Instagram. They have logged me out. I'm trying to log back in. This is ridiculous. All right, let's continue. Let's bounce over to our Instagram feed. Alyssa here says, liberals are so upset with Trump, you would think he stole 90% of the Haitian relief fund, sold 20% of our uranium to Russia, deleted 33,000 emails, and left innocent Americans to die in Benghazi. Now that's pretty, that would be something to get outraged about, you would think. But nah, it ain't like that. They have logged me out of Instagram. And that's where I had my show prep. Awesome. Log in. What is happening here? Okay. Am I logged back in now? Log in. The New American. Oh my God. Okay. Log in with Facebook. I don't know what's going on here. Let's see if this works to get everything back on track. We've added a restriction to your account. Fuck you, Meta. Oh, I hate Meta so much. You can't create multiple sessions. See why? The account or activity on it may try to gather sensitive information or share malicious software. Huh? No, I'm not a robot. Yeah, you're confirming it's me. Oh my God, what is happening? Everything's frozen. Folks, this is not the show I was trying to deliver to you today. Oh, I hate Meta so much. I can't request review. I can't enter my email. It won't send a code. What in the world is happening? I'm going to try to plow through this, folks. I'm going to try to plow through. Where's this notification and where's this restriction? Added a restriction to your account. No. All right, what can I can't play you what I want to play you because it's on. Anyway. Here, this is Jesse Waters talking with Elon Musk about what's happening with the non-governmental organization.
You said the other day you uncovered some evidence that there was massive Social Security fraud and that arrests were imminent. Yes. What can you tell us about that? And what can you tell us about what you've seen politicians do to make massive amounts of money off of the federal government, like Nancy Pelosi? Please.
Yes. So we've encountered, there's really so much for it. It's deciding what should be prosecuted first, because it's such a long list. You have to actually prioritize the list. We convey the list to the Department of Justice. The DOJ has a process that they go through to review and think about it. The wheels of justice turn slowly. In fact, obviously, I have a maniacal sense of urgency. So to me, when I see that terrible fraud has happened, I'm like, why haven't we arrested someone already? But
that's how I feel.
As the
My
saying
God,
goes, the wheels of justice turn.
That is how I feel right there. I just can't understand what's taking so damn long.
Through to review and think about it. The wheels of justice turn slowly. In fact, obviously, I have a maniacal sense of urgency. So to me, when I see that terrible fraud has happened, I'm like, why haven't we arrested someone already? But as the saying goes, the wheels of justice turn slowly but surely. And I think probably the person that stole 400,000 Social Security numbers, at least, maybe more, will be arrested hopefully this week. With respect to the non-governmental organizations, these sort of fake NGOs, I think there needs to be a number of arrests in that regard as well, because these are fake charities where mostly Democrats, I don't want to be clear, there's sometimes a little bit of Republican in there, because they sometimes throw the Republicans a bone to say, hey, be quiet about this. So that's where you start getting the uniparty thing going on. But it is overwhelmingly to Democrats, and they give give billions of dollars to NGOs run by Democrats that then go through a whole network of additional NGOs. It's a giant money laundering scheme. Really, at this point, I think the word NGO and money laundering are almost synonymous.
Money laundering, NGOs, synonymous. Here's Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, talking about what's going on with the tariffs.
Markets are crashing around the world for the second day in a row. The consensus is that the president's tariffs were much higher than expected and based on economic formulas that people do not understand. What is your reaction and what is the impact on Europeans? You want them to spend more on defense,
yes,
which they're agreeing to finally, but how can they do that when their economies are crashing and they are now...
No, their economies are not crashing. The markets are reacting. No, their economies are not crashing. Their markets are reacting to a dramatic change in the global order in terms of trade. And so what happens is pretty straightforward. If you're a company and you make a bunch of your products in China, and all of a sudden shareholders or people that play the stock market realize that it's going to cost a lot more to produce in China, your stock is going to go down. But ultimately, the markets, as long as they know what the rules are going to be moving forward, and as long as that's set and you can sustain where you're going to be, the markets will adjust. Businesses around the world, including in trade and global trade, they just need to know what the rules are. Once they know what the rules are, they will adjust to those rules. So I don't think it's fair to say economies are crashing. Markets are crashing because markets are based on the stock value of companies who today are embedded in modes of production that are bad for the United States. We have to be a country that thinks we're the largest consumer market in the world, and yet the only thing we export is services. And we need to stop that. We need to get back to a time where we're a country that can make things, and to do that we have to reset the global order of trade.
And the other part of my question...
Well, the worst thing is to leave it the way it is forever. I mean, this just can't continue. We can't continue to be a country that doesn't make things. We have to be able to make things to provide jobs for Americans. That's it. It's that simple. China is an example. I mean, it's outrageous. I mean, they don't consume anything. All they do is export and flood and distort markets, in addition to all the tariffs and barriers they put in place. So the president rightly has concluded that the current status of global trade is bad for America and good for a bunch of other people, and he's going to reset it, and he's absolutely right to do it.
Let me ask you about also the predictability of relationships with allies. The Prime Minister of Greenland, the Prime Minister of Denmark, which at this point owns Greenland, so Denmark, a NATO ally, is saying that it's unacceptable that one country cannot annex another country.
Well, no one's annexed anything. It's going to be up to Greenlanders. The Vice President made that clear. He's going to respect the self-determination of Greenlanders. So at some point, the Greenlanders have made clear that they want to be independent of Denmark. So that's Denmark should focus on the fact that the Greenlanders don't want to be a part of Denmark. That's what they should focus on. We didn't give them that idea. They've been talking about that for a long time. Whenever they make that decision, they'll make that decision. And then what we're not going to do is let China come in now and say, offer them a bunch of money and become, dependent on China.
The president said he would not move out using military force against Denmark a NATO ally.
No, he said he would not rule out. No. He said he would not rule out. He said, I'm not going to rule out anything if Greenland is encroached upon by a foreign power like a China or Russia or anybody else. But it doesn't matter because Greenlanders are going to make a decision. They're the ones that want to get away from Denmark. They're the ones that want to be independent. And not us. We didn't come up with that idea. They did. And if they make that decision, then the United States would stand ready, potentially, to step in and say, okay, we can create a partnership with you. We're not at that stage, but that's what the Vice President made clear last week in his visit there. His statement was very abundantly clear, that we will respect the self-determination of the people of Greenland. People of Greenland, and they're the ones that want to leave Denmark. That wasn't our idea.
So we'll see how that shakes out. All right. It appears as though I might be back on Instagram following that that goofy little exchange where they added restrictions to my account and made me logged out, account owner. I'm still logged out on this device, trying to pull it back up, make sure it's still working. All right, here's Mark Wayne Mullen. It says I've been logged out. Okay, why am I logged out? Oh my God. We don't hate Meta enough. No, I don't want to switch to the unhappy hour. I want to go back to the New American Media. Oh my God. Are we back in? All right. Looks like we're back in. Thanks for sticking this out with me. All right. This is Mark Wayne Mullen talking about a trade war.
Trade war. This is balancing our economy with countries that have taken advantage of us. There's countries for decades that have got rich over the backs of the workers here in America. What's happened is we've lost manufacturing jobs where because of our unfair trade deals that have left America, went to other countries, building their products and turning it back around and selling it to our economy. The countries need access to our economy because we're the largest and the greatest economy in the world. The problem is it's costing us manufacturing jobs. It is time for someone to stand up. And I applaud President Trump for having a backbone and being the first president to ever stand up and say, hold on a second. It's not about today's economy. It's about the future of America's economy going down the road. We know the trade deficits have spread. They've only got worse year after year after year. And at some point, someone had to do something about it. And President Trump is finally doing that. What we have wrong here, Shannon, is this.
I agree. It's stopping the abusive trade practices, and people want to freak out about it. It's kind of loony.
Has brought a political.
Here is Steve Bannon talking about what's happened and to the Republican Party and where the Democrats have just completely imploded, really.
Revolution. We've turned the Republican Party into a working class and middle class party of every race and ethnicity. That is historic, and have essentially done that in, 10 or 12 years. Historic, revolutionary, a political revolution, and that they're the credential class, controlled by billionaires. On Bloomberg, on the terminal, they want bond traders to see this, not in some opinion piece, not on Bloomberg's magazine. They have a television network 24-day. They have a magazine. They have Bloomberg's Business Week, one of the biggest magazines out there. They've got an entire news website and a huge opinion section with some of the best, most thoughtful opinions. They've got all that. When they want real news up in a trader's face so he understands it, because that's where they're making the big money, they put it on the terminal. What they put on the terminal? That the upper bracket's probably going to have a snapback from 37 to 39% in this tax proposal they're looking at, because President Trump is going to decrease your taxes. In addition, working class and middle class people, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax hopefully on bonuses, but no tax on Social Security. You're about to have another Liberation Day. Liberation Day from the globalists was on Wednesday, and hey, guess what? They're fighting. They're throwing the toys out of the pram. We're not going to own your equities. Well, don't own
them. Jimmy saying, you're probably having glitches because I'm watching today. Well, it's not like we haven't both been on a watch list for a very long time. What else? He said shows that you watch had to leave YouTube and meta garbage, sold out trash to the deep state. Yeah. Yeah, I saw Crowder just left. They're only doing their live streams on Rumble now, which is why I want everyone to follow the New American Media on Rumble. If you don't have an account, please get one and get us on Rumble. Yeah, YouTube gave us our very first hard strike in 14 years, 1,800 videos, because we were covering U.S. aid. Oh, man, they're big mad that we found out how they've been stealing from us to fund the opposition. Come on. This is where I'm going to introduce you to Nimbus. Nimbus likes to come up and step on the keyboard during the show. But yeah, we've all had to leave. And honestly, that's been one of the biggest reasons why the New American Media, it's been hard to get a foothold. It's been hard to get traction because people aren't able to see our content. Our content has been shadow banned. It's been hidden from people. And it's hard to grow when they won't let you grow. So that's what I've been dealing with for a while. Nimbus and I have been dealing with for a while. And it's sad. It's trash. And yeah, is what it is. All right. Where did the chat go? Oh, there we go. Yep, people went to Rumble. We had to go to Rumble. They're not going to silence us. We'll build where we have to. X is a decent platform now. Here, bud. There we go. We're jumping on all the platforms. And I really don't have any time for the ones that are going to try to give us grief and censor. Just going to keep on pushing. How about that? Okay, here we go. Back to Steve Bannon.
Don't own them. It's fine. This is called capitalism. Things will work through. But he's not going to agree to the system, and he's not leaving here unless he does it, unless he brings his political revolution to the economic side. Because he committed to people to do this. This is why back when Johnny Kahn wrote this, American made and American parts. Because it's America first and American citizens first. Jack Posobiec and Charlie Kirk called it the Great Deal. I call it a piece of the action. You're not looking for some preferred placement on the top of the food chain. You're just asking for, hey, why don't we just restructure this thing so it's not always on our shoulders? That's what Trump is, and that's where they hate Trump. That's where they're trying to destroy Trump. That's where they tried to assassinate Trump. They've already done the character assassination. And don't think he's out of the woods on that. Not by a long shot. American made with American parts. That's what this is all about. It'll be one of two, either the factories will come back here or there'll be some increased external revenue service revenue coming to help take the burden off ordinary citizens as taxpayers to pay for the apparatus. Trump has brought a political revolution.
All right.
And to help.
Here's a conversation with RFK Jr. talking about a new food pyramid. Could you imagine putting out that old food pyramid today and understanding the interests that got us to that point?
The nutrition, because the government telling us to eat 12 to 15 servings of bread a day was crazy. And so how willing would you be to look at a new food pyramid and instituting one?
We're doing that right now. When we came in, the Biden administration had created new nutrition guidelines, but they were unworkable, and they were supposed to go into effect on January 20th. I asked President Trump to give us permission to kick the ball down to March. And the document that we got from the Biden administration was 453 pages long. Oh, it's completely useless to a mother or to a school. And what I said is we want a 3-page document that essentially says you should be eating whole foods.
Yeah, right.
And then give the schools the option of getting those whole foods locally, so that you're not dictating exactly what the diet is, but you're dictating broad categories and saying these are the kind of things. We don't want a lot of plastic packaging.
Right.
We want hot foods that are hopefully made on site. We should have nutritionists in every school in this country, like they do in Japan and other nations, that are supervising the food production and the nutrition of those kids. And have much healthier kids. We need to make this investment in our children.
Yes, yes, amen. I appreciate you so much. Of course, the Secretary of HHS, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., thank you for all the work that you're doing for our children.
Thank you, and thank you for being such a great Maha warrior.
Into health and nutrition, because the government telling us to eat 12 to 15 servings.
Yeah, you don't need 12 to 15 servings of bread. That's ridiculous, especially with glyphosate and GMO garbage. Raging West here, sharing a chilling moment where Marine Le Pen leads thousands of patriots in singing the national anthem. Marine Le Pen will never stop. Anyway, I don't want to listen to that, although I do appreciate that they are trying to fix what's happening over in Europe. Here's the store owner. This dude has a heart attack. They're saying another customer came minutes later and performed CPR and got him help. He lived, and the two teens left with $178 and hopefully a lifetime of regret. I mean, imagine someone having a medical incident, and instead of helping them, you jump behind the counter and try to rob it. Sometimes you don't hate people enough. It's so gross. Dude is dying right there, and they're robbing him instead. Absolutely awful. Sorry to share that with you, but, sometimes humanity is... Well, we just got to show you what it is. Patrick Webb reporting that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s HHS is reportedly assembling a team to investigate atmospheric geoengineering practices, including chemtrails, cloud seeding, and stratospheric aerosol injections, per Nikhil Shanahan. Remember when they told you none of that was happening? It's been happening. We've all known it's been happening. They've talked about it happening. What's crazy is that someone would try to tell you that it's not happening. We've all known it's been happening. Jim, CIA-owned Google is definitely deep state trash. Yes, they are. Big Pharma sold out government that grew from Nazis and Operation Paperclip. Warmonger Rumsfeld pushing war chemtrails as sweeteners. Soros, Nazi tool, funding most of our government. That adds up to the health of our country. Yeah, how could we be having a bad time with our health when so many great people, great incidents, great occurrences have been helping shape everything? Yep, it's been a mess for a very long time. And that's what you're finding. You're finding a lot of pushback. You're finding a lot of uncomfortable dynamics right now because people are used to the way things are. And the way that they have been, they're unsustainable. Nonstop war, sick care, not health care. What is it really curing? Is it curing anything? or is just finding lifetime clients? I don't know. I just don't get how we've ended up in such a weird position. So many things we grew up thinking were accurate are just absolutely upside down. Michael Malice here talking about upside down. He says, anyone who claims a child can make an informed decision about gender is minutes away from claiming a child can make an informed decision about sex. Because they can't. So don't entertain those comments. I think I already played you this conversation with Elon. Attorney General Pam Bondi has placed the Department of Justice lawyer on leave for failing to adequately defend the administration in a deportation case. The lawyer failed to zealously advocate its position in a case involving a suspected gang member deported to El Salvador last month. Bondi's office placed Erez Reuveni, who argued for the government, in Friday's hearing in which a judge ruled that Maryland resident Kilmar Abrego Garcia must be returned to the U.S. by Monday, has been placed on indefinite leave. At my direction, every Department of Justice attorney is required to zealously advocate on behalf of the United States, Bondi told the New York Times. Any attorney who fails to abide by this direction will face consequences. During court proceedings, Reuveni told the judge that Garcia's deportation was a mistake stemming from an administrative error. On Saturday, the Trump administration argued that Judge Paula Exinis has no right to force Garcia's return when arguing the case further in an emergency appeal. Late Friday afternoon, a federal district judge ordered the United States to force El Salvador to send one of its citizens, a member of MS-13 no less, back to the United States by midnight Monday. If there was ever a case for an emergency stay pending appeal, this would be it. The government wrote an emergency repeal, which was obtained by Fox News. The government has further argued that the matter is out of their hands, as Garcia has already been deported to El Salvador. Nevertheless, the court's injunction commands that defendants accomplish somehow Abrego Garcia's return to the United States in give or take one business day, calling it indefensible. Filing went on to argue that Judge Zinnis lacked the power to require the government on the clock to try to force a foreign country to take a discreet action. Fox News reported Abrego Garcia has been found to be a member of a designated foreign terrorist organization, MS-13. Given that status, he has no legal right or bias to be in the United States at all. Yeah, so the court is saying kidnap this gang member and smuggle him back to the United States. So keep your eyes peeled on this case. Who's in charge? MS-13 or President Trump or these courts? Richard Rapboy putting this out there. This makes sense to me. Leftists, they understand shop local. You know, that's like a big refrain in the hippie community and the lefty community. Shop local. But somehow they don't understand making your products in America. Because remember, part of these tariffs, it's not about just slapping a 15% or a 25% tariff on a nation and doing that. What it's about is if you're going to sell your stuff here and you don't want to be tariffed and you're going to undercut the people who are working in manufacturing plants and creating products here in America, you're going to build your plant here in America and you're going to hire Americans to work these jobs. Or tariff time. So I think the recalibration of the economic market, shop local. Remember to say shop local. Because if the goods aren't being made in America, you're not shopping local. Here's Branko with a really nice image. This is the coexist people and the save the planet people. This guy's saying, follow our leader. Guy's got a knife. Guy's got a bat. Guy's got a bandana over his face. And here's Tim Walz with a Molotov cocktail aiming at the Tesla dealership. Destroying businesses lifts my mood. Yeah. These are the Democrats, people. Walk away from them. This post here says, just so we're clear, I did not vote for cheaper egg prices. I voted to expose corruption and shake up the system. And judging by the panic and anger, I'd say that we're on the right track. I concur. The system has been a complete mess for a long time. Let's compare the Biden border security lie that's been debunked by Trump.
Made immigration a top priority, and
Real America's Voice, Eduardo Nerett with Shemaine Nugent.
unlike most politicians, he actually followed through. Imagine that. Do you think he delivered on closing the border?
Absolutely. Border crossings are down 90%. We just got the numbers yesterday. He has deported 100,000 illegal immigrants, many of them criminals, in his first 60 days in office, and I'm hoping he will up those numbers. So on the issue of immigration alone, he just proved that the entire Biden line of Biden was arguing and the Democrats were arguing, well, we need new laws to be passed by Congress to secure the border. It's out of our hands.
Nope. Turns out all you needed was a new president.
He proved that all of that was a lie in less than 60 days. And it's just been amazing to watch. And hopefully not only can he keep it going, but what I'm looking for is the Congress to actually codify these things into law so that a future Democrat president can't come in and then undo all of this via executive order.
Trump made immigration a top priority, and unlike most politicians.
Yep. Turns out you just need a new president. Jim here is saying that they told us that we were the greatest country that helped the world with peace when we grew up in the 80s. We are the greatest country left in a world owned by bankers and warmongers that created a slave system and a control system that blackmails and pays criminals to fool us into our own demise and world wars. We need to end that. I agree. All right. Students are asking the sheeple about some comments. Students say Obama immigration quote is racist when they think it's from Trump.
A quote for you here that's been making the rounds on social media about the deportation of criminal illegal aliens. We are a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our laws, and I believe they must be held accountable, especially those who may be dangerous. That's why over the past 6 years, deportations of criminals are up 80%, and we're going to keep focusing on threats to our security. What's your thought on that quote and that policy in general?
I think that policy comes from a place of like white American nationalism. Donald Trump has kind of like embraced this rhetoric of like racism and xenophobia that is not beneficial to our country at all.
I don't think that quote really stands true.
This administration has totally not done anything moral.
This is really awful.
Amnesty does not necessarily mean that we're losing border security. I think that Trump feels that way.
I think that's a bad decision because like the United States should be open to like immigrants, like it's like they call it land of the free for a reason.
We just have to advocate for those kind of people and people like in Congress, like Ocasio-Cortez, who is helping people overcome these kinds of things.
Crimes do not nullify your humanity, and people are coming here in search of opportunity.
I'm going to show you the person that said that quote.
We're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers.
Is that surprising?
Yeah, a little bit.
Why is that surprising?
Because I thought it was the Trump administration that said something like that.
Yeah, it's quite surprising. I thought it was from Trump.
I didn't expect it to be Obama either.
Why did you not expect it to be Obama?
Because
Not a mom who's working hard to provide for her.
I guess, I don't know, like it never occurred to me that it could be Obama.
Is that surprising that it's a quote from President Obama?
Yeah, that was surprising for sure, yeah.
Do you think it's still a practice of white nationalism, though, to deport criminal illegal aliens?
I think the way Trump's doing it is.
Oh,
okay. But President Obama, to this point in Trump's presidency, Obama actually deported more people, though. So it's in practice, it was more from Obama, though.
What's your question?
I'd say my understanding of Obama versus Trump is that Obama was more liberal as far as amnesty and border security. I expected that quote to come from Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows the hypocrisy in politics. So one person can say something 5 years ago, and next thing you know, it doesn't apply to them anymore, and that they can now be the morality police for whoever is in charge now.
Does that change your opinion of the practice to know that President Obama did the same thing? Actually, to this point in his presidency, deported more people than President Trump had at this point.
No. Again, I just think that there's a moral way to do it, and I don't know a ton about Obama's deportation policies, but I imagine that they were a lot more humane than the ones currently going on.
There you have it. It is so interesting to look at Obama when he was campaigning versus Obama when he got to take his mask off and be who he really is. You saw with Joe Biden, the third and most honest term of the Obama administration, what him and Mayorkas were up to. Ugh. Mike Benz, he's saying that it's all manufactured garbage. All the riots show is how formulaic, astroturfed, and predictable that they are. Like, congrats. I believe he's talking about, well, I don't know, pick your favorite riot, I suppose. Firebombing Tesla dealerships probably being the latest version of them. All the riots show is how formulaic, astroturfed, and predictable they are. Like, congrats. You proved once again you are nothing but a page ripped out of a color revolution playbook using destabilizing street protests to harm a democratically elected government beloved by its people. Yeah, that feels right. Are we going to keep getting ripped off by the world? Lydia Karanj on Newsmax talking about President Trump.
President Trump has turned the world inside out, upside down, and for good reason. For the first time in a very long time, we have a president who is putting Americans first, a president who is determined to make America wealthy again, make America independent again. We protect the world, send billions of aid around the world, and in return, we get ripped off by the world. We are done being the world's ATM. We are done being suckers. Trump's "you do to me, I'll do back to you" tariffs have been a long time coming. Here he is on the Oprah Winfrey Show back in 1988.
And yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And, hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
Yep, and the joke has been on us for decades now. Did you know, by the way, that Trump was a Democrat? There was actually always bipartisan consensus that the United States should implement reciprocal tariffs, from Nancy Pelosi to Barack Obama.
How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker, and how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo.
We had a tire case in which they were flooding us with cheap domestic tires or cheap Chinese tires. And we put a stop to it. And as a consequence, saved jobs throughout America. I have to say that Governor Romney criticized me for being too tough in that tire case.
Many Democrats have championed this issue of tariffs and reciprocal, you do to me what I do to you. They've been doing this, talking about this for years. You just heard it right there. Even AOC's BFF, Bernie Sanders, he criticized Republicans for allowing companies to build most of our products overseas.
Further, what they have said is that we need to not worry about manufacturing in America, because what we should establish is a policy of unfettered free trade. We don't need tariffs. What we need is to allow corporate America the freedom to throw American workers out on the street.
I mean, that's Bernie basically backing up what Trump is saying. I mean,
it's so weird seeing people talk out of both sides of their mouth. I know everybody does it, but it's so interesting to watch the freak out artists, the professional freak out artists, constantly melting down over what they're told to melt down about by MSNBC and CNN. It's sad. I really want Bobby Kennedy to focus on the mental health of people suffering from Trump derangement syndrome.
We're tired of being the joke of the world.
We have to get the mental health back from the brainwashed, the abused. They've been abused by the lying legacy media, the Democrat Party, and the education industrial complex that's been indoctrinating us.
If you've seen it, we've become more and more reliant on our adversaries like China. We saw it clear as day during the pandemic when we couldn't even buy masks or gloves. And guys, it gets even worse than PPE. Between 2020 and 2022, U.S. imports of China-based pharmaceuticals grew by 485% from $2.1 billion to $10.3 billion. Under Joe Biden, our foes became stronger and richer while the U.S. became weaker and poorer. And we, of course, became more reliant even when it came to our own medicine. The U.S.-China Commission finding that China owns the American generic drug supply. They own it. Basic thyroid or blood pressure medications might be put into pill form in a lab in India, but the organic compounds, the actual key ingredients that are needed for those drugs, they come from China. And it's China who is buying Russia's oil, now surpassing Saudi Arabia. Pharmaceuticals, drugs, and cars. Oh my, we are truly screwed if this trajectory of this country, if it continued the way it was going under Democrat rule. And that's what these reciprocal tariffs by President Trump are all about.
During COVID, you should have seen everything you needed to know. That we weren't manufacturing the drugs that we need in our country, that we don't have enough electrical transformers, and that we wouldn't even be able to make them if we needed them today, if there was an EMP attack, accidental from a solar flare, an X flare, or an attack on the power grid. COVID showed us a massive problem in our supply chain. Have we learned from it? We need to be creating things in this country. We shouldn't rely on anything that we need from anywhere else, or at least as few things from other places as possible. We should rely on as few items as possible from other locations outside of the United States. That's for damn sure. That's the lesson of COVID.
Term independence, long-term success of this nation.
So it's 67%, so we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less, so how can anybody be upset? They will be, because we never charge anybody anything, but now we're going to charge.
We should have been charging them all along. Trump is, you just heard him there, he's charging China half of what they charge us, and yet people are outraged and predicting this economic apocalypse.
Markets sharply dropping overnight, futures plummeting. The fallout on your family's wallet. Democrats accuse the president of promising to lower the high cost of living, but now, quote, crashing the economy.
His policies so far in this country have caused chaos, and now they're making disaster actually more probable. And what he has done is created an environment where our economy is going to be shaken. And a lot of the people, as we've said already, who are predicting what's going to happen if he stays this course could be disastrous.
Aren't these the same people who said that Joe Biden was mentally competent and fit and he should run again? I mean,
yeah, they are. Those same people. By the way, let's take a look. Dow Jones Industrial. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. Never forget. You're looking here. Oh, look, we're up. We're actually up 58% in the last 5 years. Look at that. But here, let's go from 5 years to 1 year. All right, we're down 3%. 3% in a year. Year to date, down 11%. See this drop off here? Kablamo. Last 6 months, down 10%. Last month, down 12%. 5 days, down 10%. In the day, we're down 1.5 points. Stock markets go up, stock markets go down. Jim Rowland said it's the media and the CIA. Yeah, they've been working. The Smith-Mundt Act that Obama reversed basically said it's open game on political brainwashing techniques here on American citizens. I don't know why we haven't undone that yet. I really don't. Over the last 5 years, we're up 58%. And today, we're down 1.8. 1.6. Things change, people. And there might be a little volatility. I don't give advice, but man, if there's a pretty weird drop, you want to buy dips. You don't want to buy the peak. Let's go back here. Yeah, the same people telling us what to trust, they're the same ones lying about Joe Biden being fit to serve for the past 4 years.
If foreign countries want lower tariffs, then simply put, the United States, we should also get lower tariffs too.
The American dream is not let them eat flat screens. That if American families aren't able to afford a home, don't believe that their children will do better than they are. The American dream is not contingent on cheap baubles they have from China, that it is more than that. And we are focused on affordability, but it's mortgages, it's cars, it's real wage gains.
And, it feels scary. It's even unsettling to be a witness and be part of this historic shift, right? Because when was the last time America really stood up for itself and said to the world, you know what, this is who we are. We're going to put ourselves first. Take it or leave it.
You're already seeing the evidence that things are getting better. Egg prices are lower. Energy prices are lower. You've got trillions.
Remember when the media freaked out about egg prices nonstop? They are going to shriek as loud as they can in any effort possible to try to harm President Trump and MAGA. Just understand that, know that, be aware of that. Don't let yourself get wrapped up in the panic porn. Energy prices are down. Egg prices are down. By the way, the jobs number was very up. Did you see that? Smashed expectations.
Of dollars of new investment coming into the country. That's people who are building factories because they want to avoid the tariffs. And that's the exact purpose of President Trump's economic policy.
Friday's job report far surpassed expectations by more than 100,000.
100,000 more jobs than anticipated. And by the way, these are Americans working American jobs. It wasn't that way. Most of the jobs that were being created were going to non-Americans who snuck into this country under Mayorkas, Obama, Biden, Harris, and whatever secret group of people have been running this country for the past 4 years. We don't actually believe that it was Joe Biden. We know it was Obama and his people, his handlers, his team, Team Obama. Most of those jobs in the past couple of years were going to non-Americans.
This as the left continues to melt down over the stock market. What about the fact that 6 million Americans are now late on their mortgage payments? I mean, this is incredible. Where is the outrage over that? Mortgages, if that's the backbone of our economy.
And by the way, drop these damn interest rates. Interest is usury. Usury is demonic. Trying to create debt slaves. Break out of that system. Our interest rates are not good. They've been worse, but that doesn't make this okay. If there was a simple 1% on a mortgage to cover administrative costs and bookkeeping and just generic stuff, all right, I get a little surcharge. But 6% for what? Why don't we have a better way of doing this? Do you know how fast your home would be paid off if 100% of what you paid went to the principal balance? It would happen so fast. You'd be caught up in next to no time. And then you'd have all that extra disposable income at your fingertips.
Not the stock market, not even our 401ks, not even tariffs. Yet the fear-mongering from the left, of course, with the media, it continues. President Trump, they want to keep banging that drum that he's the big, bad, orange boogeyman. Yet poll after poll, it shows that Americans support what Trump is doing every step of the way. Do not believe the lies. Do not believe the white woke mob you may have seen marching down the streets yesterday, because it's a lie. Because the same media outlets that are saying that Trump is so bad and he's destroying the economy, they spent 10 times more airtime covering the deportation of an alleged pro-Hamas agitator than they did the deportation of that guy right there, who was a top MS-13 gang leader. They're also the same fake.
So they're ignoring all the good and giving you all of the bad. If you're only watching these leftist, globalist rags, you're missing out on the other side. There's a lot of wins that are happening. And if all you focus on are the losses, that's all you're going to see.
Fake news networks who hosts also spew lie after lie about President Trump, as well as Elon Musk.
He talked about cutting Medicaid, Social Security through Doge, bringing those issues up.
Actually, he never talked. He explicitly said in Green Bay that he would not cut Social Security.
Well,
that's exactly what he said.
Talked at his rallies.
No, other people said about that, but I was there. I watched him. Okay. He did not say he was going to cut Medicaid.
Other people at his rallies who work for Doge, who work for Elon Musk's organization, talked about those issues.
No, I was at the rally. Not one of them said that. That's what protesters said, but nobody there actually said that.
Do you think that there are risks here?
There are. People believe the lies that people are saying about them.
You see that with Scott Walker there, Abby Phillips? She wouldn't even concede that she was lying. They lie to hundreds, millions of people, anybody that still watches them every single night. Imagine being a news anchor and getting fact checked on live TV and she still keeps her job. It's embarrassing. Yet they just keep doing it because there are no repercussions. No wonder their ratings, though, are in free fall because people are voting with their remotes. Because what you're witnessing with President Trump, folks, is peak I don't give a bleep what you think of me anymore, right? It's time we had a leader like this. It's time. Because as we speak, Trump, he is holding a masterclass in the art of a deal. So to all of Trump's critics, when the market shoots back up, when mortgage interest rates go down, when we see the housing crisis no more, all the great things that he predicted, when that all happens, even when more manufacturing jobs come back to the U.S., be prepared to hear a lot of I told you so's.
Yeah, what are they going to say when those jobs come back? What are they going to say?
I do want to take you out.
You know what they're going to do? The same thing that they do all the doggone time. Police in Jupiter Beach, Florida have arrested this guy for making threats on social media to off our president.
To a developing story that we're following out of Florida. Take a look at this booking photo just coming in. A Florida man arrested after he allegedly made posts on social media in which he threatened to kill President Donald Trump. Records show Glenn DeSico, seen right there, is being charged with making written threats to kill. The Jupiter Police Department in Florida saying the investigation began when they were alerted to a Facebook post where a written threat was made directed at Trump. This is the spokesperson for the Secret Service who said, "Thank you, Jupiter, Florida Police Department, for your swift response and partnership. Threats against the President of the United States or any Secret Service protectee are taken very seriously. Our success often starts with tips from the public, so please continue to report suspicious activity to police." I do want to take you out to a developing...
All right, so there's another goofball getting into trouble on his own.
Link, who do you...
It's just from the Tesla stuff to... The derangement's weird. The derangement is weird. Link is pretty funny here. He's getting asked about what was going on during the Biden presidency.
Who do you think is behind the auto pen and who left behind the Coke at the White House? I don't know why I thought to ask you that. I want to hear your thoughts.
I don't think Hunter Biden left the cocaine behind at the White House because he probably would have finished the entire bag down to the last morsel. So I don't think Hunter left the coke at the White House. And if Kamala Harris, if it were her cocaine,
Yeah, by the way, they did say maybe it was Kamala Harris, but he's saying if it was Harris,
she probably would have been a lot more productive as a vice president, but she was lazy and didn't want to work. She probably would have had more energy. So I don't know who left the cocaine behind at the White House. As for the auto pin, all of these people who kept Joe Biden insulated, the shadow government that was running things the last 4 years, they need to be brought in and they need to be questioned, because this is a major national security issue that we had a president who was basically brain dead for 4 years being controlled by handlers. We've all seen the pictures of Jill Biden sitting behind the desk on Air Force One. She's running cabinet meetings. That is very concerning, and I think we need to have some referendum and look back on all of that.
Link, who do you think is...
Yeah, we didn't really have a functional president for a long time. We have functional protests in America. Here's a conversation with some of these anti-Trump, anti-Elon, anti-Tesla, what are we even doing, protesters?
Protesting today.
Donald Trump.
What's Donald Trump doing that we're protesting?
Well, he is fucking up the American democracy right now and trying to kind of repeal a bunch of shit in the Constitution, like
what?
Like, you know, rights and
like, you know, rights,
liberties. So,
is there anything in specific that he's?
I don't have all the information, but I do know.
What are you against?
Personally, I'm against tyrants. I'm against tyranny. That's what I'm against.
What is that?
Somebody who's coming in and trying to take over the country and get...
You do take over the country when the people select you. Yeah, you're in charge now. You guys lost. Go home. Sit this one out. We don't want to hear from you. We don't like your bad ideas. And we'd like you to stop messing up future problems. But yeah, tyranny or something.
Get rid of the rules and regulations that have existed for centuries to keep us citizens safe.
And who do you think is doing that?
Currently, Donald Trump and Elon Musk and all of his cabinet members.
Why Elon Musk, though?
The Department of Government Efficiency, he was put in charge of a department that doesn't even exist before this, and he's not even an American.
Who's not an American?
Elon Musk.
Okay,
He's from South Africa. I don't know if you knew that.
How do you feel about Donald Trump?
He's not a what?
I think that he deserves to die.
He should what?
Die.
Okay.
What?
That's how I feel.
So who do you want to run America?
The people, preferably.
There's so much goofy stuff going on here. Donald Trump is a people.
You want the people to run America?
Like a democracy should be, yes.
Do you feel like the people voted for him?
I think the people were fooled.
Fooled by who?
Him.
How?
I don't...
It's a false consciousness.
It's a what?
It's a false consciousness.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so the...
Can I see your sign?
Can you see it?
No, I was sitting right here.
To the camera.
No, to the camera, brother.
I'm talking to you.
But I'm interviewing. I got a mic.
I don't care about that.
You decided to
I'm
talk.
here as an individual.
Individual?
I'm here as an individual.
Okay.
I'm talking to you as an individual.
Okay, well, I want to see the sign. If you have a sign.
Read the sign.
Okay, all right. What's the sign say? What does the sign say? Hold on, brother. What does the sign?
You go out of your way.
All people are children of the earth.
Yeah, all people are children of the earth. Can you disagree with that? Can you disagree with that?
No, I can't disagree.
What do you got to say about that?
I can't disagree.
Me neither.
Yeah. I love that, brother. Yeah. All people are people of the earth. I love that, man.
These people don't even know what they're doing out there. Elon Musk is a naturalized U.S. citizen as of 2002, by the way. And that guy wants to see Donald Trump in the ground. What a nutter.
That's interesting.
Having fled Los Angeles, I can attest to a lot of this, and it's insane what LA has done to kill the goose that laid the golden egg. You can be pro-worker and anti-union. You can say that unions will go out of their way to protect the worst among them instead of getting rid of the weakest and elevating the field. You shouldn't be protecting terrible teachers. You should be leveling them up. Unions kill the geese that lay the golden eggs. Los Angeles has killed the goose that created the movie industry and television. So here's Rob Lowe talking with, what's this other guy's name? Adam Scott, about how impossible it is to film in Los Angeles. What a shame.
Interesting that you shoot the floor there. It's cheaper to bring 100 American people to Ireland than to walk across the lot at Fox. Right. Past the sound stages and do it there.
It's cheaper to fly everybody out to Ireland than to just shoot on set. That is backward. That is so backward. So nobody's doing it. They're going where all the tax breaks are. Hello, David. Thanks for joining us today. Everybody else out there, however you're watching us, please hit like, please hit subscribe. and hit the heart button or the thumbs up button a few times, like pop it up in the algorithm so that we're getting those comments. And if you haven't chimed in yet, type your name or your initials and where you're watching us from. We love the comment, the ongoing conversation to continue on the side of the screen, which is why we leave it up there. So we want to hear from everybody out there who's watching us on all of these various platforms. But anyway, with Rob Lowe's show, The Floor, some game show, it's easier to fly him out to Dublin than to walk across the set and film it in Los Angeles.
Crazy. Do you think if we shot Parks right now, we would be in Budapest? 100% we would be. We'd be in Budapest. We would be.
It's so weird. There's nothing shoots in Los Angeles.
Nothing. I had my next show already done, scripts, deals closed.
Yeah.
And they said, we're shooting this in New York. And I said, I'm not moving to New York to do this. And then it went away. The show's done. I'm not doing it.
Wow.
It's like,
no shit.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
It's just too expensive to shoot here.
There are no tax credits. So like all those other places are offering 40%.
Yeah.
40%.
Oh, yeah.
And then on top of that, there's other stuff that they do.
Yeah.
And then and that's not even talking about the union stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's just tax economics of it all. So it's criminal what the California and LA have let happen. It's criminal. Everybody should be fired.
That's interesting that you shoot The Floor there.
Yeah, they should be fired. And that's what California's done. They've pushed all the creative, successful people out. They don't want that to be a part of their economy. So you're not going to have it. Good for you. Bravo. All right, so here's this story that we covered. Austin Metcalf. He was at a track meet and he was stabbed to death by this guy in the top corner, Carmelo Anthony. So some of these comments, they're saying that the deceased Austin Metcalf, for telling somebody you're in the wrong spot, get out of my spot. Some of these comments here, I'll show you some of the worst takes. Y'all should have left that kid alone. What authority did y'all have to make him move? You have no idea what kind of day he already had. That sense of entitlement cost him his life. No. The stabbing cost this guy his life. I'm still trying to unpack this situation, what happened. Who started what? Did they come back with a weapon? Did they already have a weapon? What type of physicality? They said a backpack was moved. Like, that's not immediate physical threat to your life. And if you go and come back, then yeah, that's definitely premeditation. I'm trying to unpack this story. I don't have super strong opinions on it. I've reacted as if the information I had at the time was accurate, and I don't know if that is the case. This Tariq guy says if Kyle Rittenhouse was justified in using lethal self-defense and Daniel Penny was justified in using lethal self-defense, then Carmelo Anthony was justified in using lethal self-defense against alleged bullies who instigated an altercation, correct? No. I don't know why they're calling this person a suspected white supremacist. That's pretty ridiculous. I don't see anything of that. Demanded that an honor student give up his seat like the Jim Crow era. And they're citing Daniel Penny. People laughing that there's a deed white boy. That's gross. Raheem Shabazz says it seems the label of thug is often. Hang on, am I on the right screen? Actually, yeah, you can read all these. That's good. Hey, what's up? There we go. Frankie Brown chiming in, David Band, Jim Rowland, everybody else there. I'd love to see the contact info for the people who were paid protesters. Absolutely. Oh, I'm sure it's out there somewhere. It seems the label of thug is often unjustly reserved for black individuals, particularly when they're armed. The truth is demonstrated by Carmelo Anthony's actions is that he was not the aggressor. Rather, he diffused the situation and the aggressor is dead. Yet you don't get to kill somebody because they tell you you're in the wrong spot. I don't know where you get that, where they're jumping to this. His response ensured that he lives to see another day. Huh? Was he in a ground and pound situation like the George Zimmerman case when he was jumped from the bushes and getting his cranium smashed into the concrete, which would kill a person? Or was a backpack moved and someone said you're in the wrong seat? I'm still looking for the information on this case. A stark reminder that you must stay ready so you don't have to get ready. We call it self-preservation. This commenter says, please keep posting stuff like this. It's really helping your cause. I Expose Racist says, Carmelo Anthony was a track and football star athlete as well. He maintained good grades and has never been in trouble. He is not a criminal like a media is trying to portray him as. Mr. Obvious says, stabbing someone to death makes you a criminal. This one says, hey, bro, just so you know, if you ever tried to move me out the way, I'd... Okay. Austin told Carmelo to move to the back of the bus, and Carmelo said, hell no, never forget who these people are. They're trying to say that because this kid was told he was in the wrong spot, he was allowed to murder? That's not how this works. Yeah, all these bad takes are being warped and twisted right now. Arthur Watkins says, I'm waiting for Trump to invite Carmelo Anthony to the White House. He stood his ground. Uh-huh. Was this a home invasion at 3 a.m? If I'm on the subway and someone picks up my bag and moves it somewhere else, says you're in the wrong spot, do I get to end that person's life? Well, Daniel Penny, no, there was a raving lunatic threatening to murder people, and he was detained until the very first stop where they could get assistance, where the police could come by. These are the worst parallels here. And by the way, I don't have all the information on this case. I don't think anybody does. What is this? This is a chart talking about racial conspiracy theories, showing the percent of black adults who say each of the following racial conspiracy theories is something that happens to black people daily. Such as black public officials singled out to be discredited in a way that doesn't happen to white officials. 76% of people believe that. That's not true. Police, I mean, come on. Nobody's been more falsely accused and discredited than President Trump has. And he's orange. He's not white. He ain't black. Police do very little to stop guns and drugs from flooding black communities. Black people are disproportionately incarcerated so prisons can make money. Big businesses market luxury items to black people to keep them in debt. Oh boy, that's pretending that you have no self-control there. Medical researchers experiment on black people without their knowledge or consent. Now, they did do that with the Tuskegee experiments. I don't know of anything current with that. The government encourages single motherhood among black women to eliminate the need for black men. Well, that was the what was that called? That was the Johnson plan. Was it the Civil Rights Act? It was part of where you'll make more money if there's not a dad in the household, so it encouraged people to not have dads in the household. The government promotes birth control and or abortion to keep the black population small. I mean, well, that's actually that's what Margaret Sanger was all about. Arctotherium says it's worth remembering that deranged racial conspiracies are commonly believed by African Americans. The median black believes medical researchers are going to Mengele on them. This has obvious implications for whether blacks can be trusted to treat other races fairly. The amount of manipulation and brainwash and panic that's been delivered to the black community in America, really globally. There was just one where black, what was it? Black babies didn't receive proper health care from white doctors. And so that thing spread and people got freaked out about that for a long time. And it turns out it was just because there's a lot of a lot of white surgeons and specialists. And if you're a surgeon or a specialist, you're seeing people who are the most likely to need extreme intervention as a last-ditch effort to try to save a life that's severely immunocompromised, or maybe not immunocompromised, but in the most desperate need for medical care. So you're going to see the white specialist because by percentage more of them are in that field. So they tried to make that an equation of saying, well, if you go to a white doctor, you're in trouble because they're not going to operate on you. That's just such a stretch. That's a bigger stretch than saying Colin Kaepernick was banned from the NFL being half white and half black because he's half white and half black. He is half white and half black, right? I'm actually going to check that. Is Colin Kaepernick half white? No, Colin Kaepernick didn't get his $50 million a year deal because he wasn't good. He was getting older. He was getting slower, and the league had figured out how to defend his pistol formation. He wasn't effective, and he got benched for Blaine Gabbert. Yes, Colin is biracial. His biological mother is white, and his father is black, and raised by a white couple. So no. Anyway, just this was a bunch of takes trying to cheer on this dead Austin guy. I don't think being told to move from a seat allows you to stab somebody in the heart. I don't think that's a thing. We'll see as we get some more details on the case. Moving on. Minnesota Food Bank CEO steps down as legislators question, how is she getting $721,000 a year? Second Harvest Heartland defended its executive compensation and financial stewardship, but some legislators are concerned of the out-of-control salaries at nonprofits who are requesting public dollars. $700,000 a year is kind of impressive. Here you go. In only 76 days, are you hearing about this with your panic porn regarding the economy? In only 76 days, President Trump secured 42% more in private investment than Biden did in 4 years. Here's Trump dancing. We got music? No music. $1 trillion in 1,400 days. Trump has $1.5 trillion in only 76 days. More private investment secured by President Trump in his first 11 weeks than Biden got in his entire term. If you're going to try to freak out about the stocks being down over the last week, maybe you could talk about some of these big victories. And according to Defeat Democrats, over 50 nations are now reaching out to President Trump. His bold tariff move has sparked a wave of countries eager to get to the table to strike new deals. Yeah, because that's always been the plan. Here's a nice meme. Man, how are we watching this? Can I go side by side? I can go side by side. And just like that, countries started dropping their tariffs. All it took would be to stand up. Stand up and defend, right? Mike Carnevale says the COVID hoax of 2020 remains the most blatant civil liberties violation of our lifetime. Never forget what these people did to you. Oh, we were lied to about the origin. We were lied to about gain of function research. We were lied to about mortality rate. We were lied to about efficacy of these medicines. We were lied to about everything. And it's been a massive transfer of wealth to the BlackRocks of the world, to the upper echelons. Criminals indeed, David. Criminals all over the place. Here is the Trump press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt. She's getting asked a question.
Get classified by simply having certain symbols in your tattoos. That alone is enough to get someone classified as TDA and sent to El Salvador.
Trinidad, El Salvador, tattoo identification is enough to get you out of here. Well, I mean, if you're going to permanently put a murderous gang on your body, you've kind of self-identified as a member of that group. Like, that was on you. Nobody forced you to do that, unless you were forced to do that. In which case, if you were forced to, then you're working for that criminal organization under duress.
That's not true, actually, Andrew.
According to this document, it is.
No, according to the Department of Homeland Security, there is a litany of criteria that they use to ensure that they qualify for deportations. And shame on you and shame on the mainstream media for trying to cover for these individuals who have. This is a vicious gang, Andrew. This is a vicious gang that has taken the lives of American women. And you said yourself there are 8 criteria on that document.
8 criteria. But they make it seem very different. Here's Gutfeld talking about our military under Pete Hegseth. This is a long time coming.
Hegseth makes combat standards equal. Tariffs. Defense Secretary Hegseth announced he will be ordering men and women to meet the same physical requirements to serve in combat roles, which ensures that soldiers will meet the highest standards regardless of sex. What say you?
About time?
Yeah.
I don't really see much debate here. No, our soldiers should be out of shape and small and be allowed to change identities in the foxhole if they want to, or bring their makeup. And that's not the ladies. Apparently it was the fellas too for a while. So, yeah, it's the military.
Yeah.
And you want the best and brightest. So I don't see the argument here.
Hegseth makes combat standards equal.
So now it's not separate but equal. It's equal and equal. Just perform. If you can perform, you can jump in. But you're not going to have lesser requirements for ladies or for non-white people. It's just for people. Guys, girls, whatever. Like, just jump on in. If you can meet the requirements, you get to stay. If not, you got to go. The way it should have been the whole time. Here's Olivia Krolsick. Nice reminder.
Reminder that the people telling you men can't have an opinion on abortion are also telling you that men can get pregnant. And they're also fighting for women's rights, but can't tell you what a woman is. So if you're ever having a day where you feel stupid, just remember, at least you're not a liberal. Just remind.
Important point to consider. England, are you okay? This post says that a man takes some photos of the landscape with his smartphone is stopped and questioned by the British police who want to see the photos on his smartphone. England is like North Korea, maybe worse.
Noticed you around the town a little bit and been taking some pictures. Just wanted to engage with you to see why you'd be taking pictures.
What do you mean?
You getting your phone out and taking pictures on your phone?
This one?
Yeah.
What's pictures?
Have you been taking pictures on your phone?
Have you been taking pictures on your phone? These creeps in England just get weirder and weirder to me.
Well, do you want to show me your photos?
Do you want to see my photos?
It's only that we've been observing you from afar and the camera's been watching you and they've said that you've been taking...
Do you want to look at my photos? There might be a picture of my penis.
You can hide that, can't you?
How, if you look at it?
Well,
could be a picture of my penis. All right, there's a question of the day. David says he doesn't feel bad for billionaires losing the control in their money. Right. There's a question of the day for everybody in chat. If someone looked at your phone, would they find a penis pic? That could be for anybody, actually. That question of the day. If this goofball, I don't know. I do remember the stories of people photographing critical infrastructure, and maybe they're using to gather information for some sort of attack. I get it. Like, he's out here on the street. Like, what is he doing something suspicious? All right, but there's our question of the day. If this lady in England wanted to go through your phone, would they find penis picture? Yes or no?
Why would you have
What?
Why would you be taking pictures?
My penis?
No, this area.
Thanks. We clocked you.
Yeah.
By
I see your
HSBC.
What do you mean? You clocked me.
We clocked you taking pictures.
Yes. You've got a camera on your glasses?
Are you recording?
Yes, we are.
Why don't you tell me then?
For your safety and our safety.
Why not tell me then?
Yeah, for your safety and my safety.
So why not tell me?
Yeah. Is that a camera you've got?
We might as well all record now.
Camera there and camera there?
I think I should record now.
You can record. It's up to you.
So
what brings you here
to
today?
be honest, I noticed you following me.
Yeah.
Why is that?
What brings you?
Acting very suspiciously.
Like what?
Like
Taking
looking up at
photos.
the banks and just the way you've been acting.
You've been taking photos of the banks, so you're working for the banksters.
Really?
Cameras have been following you
And the way you've been acting.
as well.
Seriously?
Do you have? Yeah. We have cameras all down this high street, so they've been observing you taking pictures and.
Prison Planet, nice.
And who owns them?
Hmm?
Who's the operator of them cameras?
The council.
The council. This is so dystopian.
So you contacted them or something? Why?
Because of your behaviour.
Why, looking?
Just you've been acting very strangely.
What do you mean?
Do you have any ID with you?
ID?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of ID are you looking for? Huh? Who? Me? What the? I didn't do anything. Who are them people?
Random people. Yeah. Have you got ID with you, sir?
ID?
Yeah.
What kind of ID are you looking for?
Bank card, driving license.
Bank
Say bank card again. These are like bank Gestapo?
card? You want my money?
Oh, weird.
What do you want in my bank card?
Well, we want that. I'm asking you for ID. You know what ID means? Identification.
I don't think we have one of them, do we?
Do you know? No?
Do we have them? Do we have ID in this country? I've got a passport.
Is this yours?
I mean, this is in my pocket.
I mean, do you have to show this? Like what reasonable suspicion? Like you're out taking pictures. That's what people do.
You want a bank card? Why do you want a bank card?
Driving license?
No, it's a bank card because you're taking pictures of the
I'm
bank.
not driving.
No. It's got your identification on it. We've noticed you around the town.
Is this UK? It says British police. All right, so that's why I put UK. All right, Publius is putting this out there. Have you followed this story shared by D and Fringe? Stephen Jensen has been promoted by FBI Director Kash Patel to lead the powerful Washington, D.C. field office. During J6 as the FBI's domestic terrorism section chief, Jensen ran daily J6 calls saying, I don't give a blank. They're GD terrorists, and we're going to round them all up. Jensen also led the monitoring of school board meetings to identify parents as potential terror threats. This is not what we voted for, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino. I'm one of the so-called terrorists that he didn't give a damn about, a mom from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with no criminal background who was let in the open doors on the Senate side by Capitol officers. For 45 minutes, I walked around calling family members to let them know I was okay. Yeah, it was such a danger that you waited months to come get me, and then after that, completely destroyed my life. This is an embarrassment. FBI Director Kash Patel and Dan Bongino should be ashamed of themselves. Jensen says Trump supporters are terrorists. Kash says, Stephen Jensen, solid guy. Bongino, I'm going to give Stephen a promotion. Me, are you out of your GD mind? So I don't know Stephen Jensen, but he doesn't sound like a wonderful person. Why is he getting promoted? I have questions and concerns. Here's Nancy Mace talking about the U.S. Census with Census Director Robert Santos.
You're not being honest this morning, and I think it's a slap in the face to the American people. If apportionment of congressional seats is based on the census and roughly 750,000 people per congressional seat in this country, would that unfairly impact how congressional seats are drawn, yes or no?
I'm sorry, you're speaking too fast for me. Can you slow down a little bit?
No, I can't. The answer is yes. In California, in Valadeo's district, where 750,000 people live in that district, 167,000 people voted in that election. I would imagine, and number one, Gavin Newsom's probably still counting because the guy can't do math 4 weeks into post an election. But 167,000 people out of 750,000 population. In my district, 390,000 people voted. We don't have the number of illegals that California has. Statistically, scientifically, Mr. Science, that's just you're not being honest this morning, and I think it's a slap in the face to the American people. If apportionment of congressional seats is based on the census and roughly 750,000 people per congressional seat in this country, would that unfairly impact how congressional seats are drawn, yes or no?
I'm sorry, you're speaking to...
Okay, I thought that was the same clip. Yeah, kind of obfuscating and not answering the question. Of course they're trying to get people to vote. Of course they're trying to give them free money as payback. Of course they're trying to bribe them. Of course the Democrats will sell this country out. That's what they've been doing, the globalists. And there's plenty of rhino globalists. Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Mitt Romney, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, plenty of bad Republicans. Here's White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller dropping a tariff truth bomb. What's up, Kenneth? Putting the ish in British, isn't it? Putting the ish in British, isn't it?
Someone explain to me. We protect and defend South Korea. And in exchange, they steal our automobile industry, they steal our electronics industry. We protect and defend Japan, and in exchange, they close their market to our cars. We protect and defend Canada, and they run up a massive trade deficit with us. We protect and defend all of Europe at a cost of trillions of dollars over time, and what do? They run an over $300 billion trade deficit with the United States. Why should America protect the world, send foreign aid to the world, defend the world, provide for the world, and in exchange, get ripped off by every other country in the world? And what do we have to show for it? The deindustrialization of the heartland, the destruction of the American dream, the eradication of our industrial and manufacturing base that we need for our national security, and the crushing of the American dream. It has to stop, not to mention $36 trillion in debt.
Thank you. We need more of these bursts of common sense. Nancy Pelosi has now made over $1 billion trading. She couldn't have made over $1 billion, could she have? The claim here from Wall Street Bets is that Nancy Pelosi has made over $1 billion trading stock while working a $174,000 job. The real question is, was all this legal? Absolutely effing not, says Leonardo DiCaprio. And actually, it is 100% legal, and that's the problem. So, yeah, keep your eyes peeled. They're hinting that they found out what's going on with all of these congressional people getting absolutely filthy rich using insider trading. Everything's hunky-dory when you're firing people for refusing an experimental injection. Big mad if you're firing people for wasting taxpayer dollars. Here's a good question. What do you call a man who rescues astronauts, helps paralyzed individuals regain movement, and developed an eco-friendly car? Answer? A Nancy. Good job, Democrats. You sound ridiculous. Richard Rappo. Oh, wait, I already shared this one. I guess I shared it twice. Bernie Moreno, who my dad recently just met, says it's fascinating to watch Democrats and their media allies gaslight Americans by telling them car prices might go up with tariffs by up to $6,000. During the Biden administration, car prices actually went up by $8,000, 20%. Total silence. Yeah, unfortunately, unfortunately, I was hit with the, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan. Lies, lies, lies. During the Obamacare debacle, I definitely got slammed with the double or triple interest rates. I hate wasting money and sending it to just interest. I'm just flushing it down the toilet instead of paying off the principal of what I have. It's I'm not a fan. And then I had to get a vehicle 2 years ago at the peak of vehicle insanity. Yeah, I've lost money on quite a few of these things. Not a big fan. Yeah, they're always trying to scare people with price increases, David. You're right. All right, I'll continue. Anthony Fauci. Is this a new clip? I believe they're presenting this as a new clip. Oh my God.
Is likely to happen, I don't know if it's going to be next year or 10 years or 15 or 20 years from now, is the emergence of another respiratory disease. It may be another coronavirus, because we know that coronaviruses really, mostly in bats, have the capability of binding to receptors that are in humans. It could be another flu. We're dealing with H5N1 now, which is bird flu, which has taken the somewhat disturbing step of infecting mammals, namely cows and cats and other mammals, which means it's adapting itself more to a human. So my concern, Walter, is that whenever that happens, the next outbreak will be of a respiratory disease that's easily transmissible, that has a significant degree of morbidity.
And we are making this a little bit more dangerous with the cuts and our attitude toward science?
Oh, absolutely. What is likely to happen, I don't know if it's going to be.
Keep your eyes peeled on this Fauci, this dirtbag. Hands off, April. Hands off what? Hands off the theft? Look, we're protesting everywhere. Yay! Hands off. Yeah, hands off our tax dollars. You're $36 trillion in debt. Here's a conversation. How do you feel about this? James says, well, hold on. Molson Hart says, what is the best simple explanation for why no one in the developed world is having kids? James says, at 27, my granddad had 0 qualifications, a house, a wife, and 3 kids supported on a sergeant's salary. At 27, I just finished post-grad professional qualifications, and I share a 2-bed flat with 2 friends. I lose 65% of my income to taxes and rent, and I have 10 square feet of personal space. We've got to elevate the standard of life again, standard of living. We got to make our money go further. I shared something. I'll scroll to it. But some of these will give you like a meme dump of several different things. Scottish communist Malcolm Caldwell traveled to Cambodia to praise Pol Pot's regime in 1978. And Pol Pot just had him shot. Yikes. Consistent critic of American foreign policy. This is what you have to wear to high school track meets today. Chainmail, apparently. Here you go. Facebook is going to shut down fact-checking program on Monday. It's officially over. That means no new fact checks and no fact checkers. Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Sean Davis is saying something that I have talked about for a while. Let's go ahead and read this to you. It says, there was a time in this country not too long ago when a mother could afford to raise her children at home, and a father could afford to buy a nice home in a safe neighborhood, pay for his children's college, and then retire knowing his family's future was assured. That world was stolen from you and replaced with one where both parents, if they're even still married, have to work just to pay the monthly bills. Owning a home is a pipe dream. A new car costs $50,000. College is 5 times that. Retirement is impossible. Schools teach your kids to hate you instead of teaching them to read, and the police kneel to criminals instead of arresting them. And the crooked politicians and banksters who stole that world from you will look you dead in the eye and tell you you're simply too stupid to understand why everything now is so much better than what it was. Man. The NPC says, believe science. Like that guy on the Fauci clip. Well, is this because of our attitudes towards science? Towards science. Toward fake science. NPC says, believe science. And the Chad goes, but you said that science, math, and logic are tools of whiteness. And that sends them into a thought spiral that they can't communicate from. Anyway. Anybody else? Feeling buyer's remorse, MAGA? Don't blame us, MAGA. We tried to warn you, MAGA. Heh. MAGA every day now. I really couldn't be happier. How do you guys feel? You pretty happy? There's a good question of the day. Do you feel happy? Could you do you feel like you couldn't be much happier with MAGA? Or do you have buyer's remorse with MAGA? That's a good question of the day to type in the comments, please. No one can afford very much anymore. Things have gotten pretty ridiculous. We all got to level up. I don't know what else to say. AF Post is reporting that Idaho Governor Brad Little has signed a law authorizing the execution of pedophiles by firing squad. Bravo. Bravo. Brad Little, governor of Idaho. I saw this, and I had never heard this before, or maybe I have heard it, but scientists have detected a rhythmic microseismic pulse occurring roughly every 26 seconds. This phenomenon, known as Earth's heartbeat, was first observed by researchers who noticed the pulse coming from the ocean. But its precise cause remains uncertain. Some theories suggest it could be linked to underwater processes, such as the movement of tectonic plates or ocean currents. However, the exact mechanism behind the pulse is still a subject of ongoing research. Or it could be something man-made, by the way. Yeah, Kenneth's generally happy with MAGA. I'm generally happy with MAGA. It's got the highest batting average of any president I've seen. I'll take it. They're directionally right on a lot of things. There's a lot of questionable, huh? But I'd rather take 5 or 10. What? Instead of 95 pulling out my hair. What is happening? Why are they doing this? And that's what it was with Biden. The Times is reporting here. Shared on Being a Libertarian, says UK police are now arresting more than 30 individuals a day for offensive online posts. That doesn't make a bit of sense. And of course, the stock market, insider paper says China stock market is down 10% at open. Taiwan stock index plunges 9.8% at open. Australian down 6% at open. Japan's Nikkei down 8.3 to hit the lowest since October 23. Here, let's do our check-in. Dow Jones is down 1.14% today. Also, it's up 59% in the last 5 years. Context, people. Context. Context matters. Daily Mail is reporting that Suchir Balaji was shot twice in the head during what was ruled a self-inflicted incident. Parents make these bombshell claims. OpenAI whistleblower Suchir Balaji was shot a second time by a bullet that was missed by the autopsy that ruled his death intentional and self-inflicted, his parents claim. Tech prodigy 26 found dead only a month after revealing the company's dubious methods of training ChatGPT. Balaji was found next to his bathroom door with a gunshot wound to the head and blood all over part of his apartment. His parents insist he couldn't have killed himself and paid for their own autopsy, toxicology, and other tests. Wow. What's going on in this case? Was it a ChatGPT hit? I don't know. Miss Muckraker here is saying, remember, President of the United States was a very successful businessman before he was ever the commander-in-chief. It's called the art of the deal. Tel Aviv stock plummeted 5% in response to Trump's tariffs. Nikkei down 7%. China stock market crashing. Hong Kong down 13%, marking the worst drop since 97. China's yuan slipped to its lowest since January. Yeah, they might want to stop with the tariff stuff then. Major garment producer Bangladesh says U.S. buyers are halting orders. India stocks fell at the opening of trading, with the benchmark Nifty index down more than 3%. President implemented a flat 26% tariff on imports from India last week, with New Delhi saying it was examining both implications and opportunities from the duty hikes. Zimbabwe is ending its tariffs on the United States in an effort to appease President Trump. Europe says they are ready to negotiate tariffs with the United States. Federal Reserve is announcing a closed board meeting for today. Hey, drop the freaking interest rates. Well, but don't you know if you drop the interest rates, it's going to cause inflation? Guys, you're not going to be able to convince me that high interest rates are going to be an awesome thing. Not going to happen. I'm not doing it. If you allow lower interest rates on mortgages, credit cards, everything, auto loans, let people refinance to something reasonable. You're putting money back in their pocket. You can only kill the golden goose one time. The American people are struggling right now. So how about a little debt relief? The drunk Republican says, oh, hold on. Ann Darrow first said, my stock account lost more than 50% of its value between November 2020 and November of 24. And between November of 24 and March 24th, I gained back 25% of my losses. I'm still better off with this dip than I was pre-Trump. Drunk Republican says, your 401k lost more money in 2022, but the media didn't tell you to panic, so you didn't. Jason Meister saying, Trump has been talking about fixing our trade deficits since the day I was born in 1982. It's the reason he ran for president back in 2016. The entire global economy was based on ripping America off. If you think he waited 40 years to back down after 4 days, you don't know Donald Trump. Trump will follow through with this until the end, and it's about time the experts started paying attention. Here's another weird talking point about penguins and uninhabited islands, and Trump is such a dummy.
When we saw the president stand in the Rose Garden holding up that chart that you helped make, that wasn't actually tariffs. That was actually confusing to investors because it was some kind of other formula, and the countries themselves seemed kind of random. Like, why are the Heard and McDonald Islands, which don't export to the United States and are quite literally inhabited by penguins, why do they face a 10% tariffs? Did you use AI to generate this?
No, the idea is
why are they on the list?
Left off. Because the idea, what happens is, if you leave anything off the list, the countries that try to basically arbitrage America go through those countries to us. Any country, like we had tariffs, the president put.
By the way, this background music might get flagged by YouTube. I'm listening to Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, but they're going to say there's music and throw a copyright thing on here, maybe. They shouldn't. It's fair use. I'm just listening to this conversation with Face the Nation and Howard Lutnick.
Tariffs on China, right, in 2018. And then what China started doing is they started going through other countries to America. Right. They just built through other countries through America. And so the president knows that. He's tired of it. and he's going to fix that. So basically he said, look, I can't let any part of the world be a place where China or other countries can ship through them. So he ended
more money laundering.
Those loopholes, these ridiculous loopholes. And now what he's trying to say is, I'm going to fix the trade deficit of the United States of America. It's a national security issue. We need to make medicine. We need to make semiconductors. We need to make ships. We need to have steel and aluminum. Come on. We need the greatness of America to actually be built in America. And he's tired of getting ripped off by the rest of the world.
Okay, when we...
Oh, Margaret. You thought you had him in a gotcha, but you didn't. President Trump here talking about the tariffs. He says, hold on, let me switch to, no, hold on, come on, reload. There we go. The United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a PANICAN. That's a new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result. Don't be panicking. Be Republican. Don't be panicking. Be MAGA. No panicking out there. PANICAN. That's a new party based on weak and stupid people. Don't be a panicking. Barry Weiss escaped Trump derangement syndrome. Here's how you can as well.
Two things I think that I didn't know in that moment when I was crying at my desk. One would be the sort of overzealous, out of touch, hysterical reaction to him and the kind of illiberalism that was born out of the reaction to him that calls itself democratic, that calls itself progressive, but is actually extraordinarily authoritarian and totalitarian in its impulses. And to me presented a very, very grave danger, and one that I saw intimately at the New York Times, which is where I went after the Wall Street Journal. The other thing that I didn't see was that Trump was going to do a lot of policies that I agreed with. I thought the Abraham Accords were historic and excellent. I thought his policy vis-a-vis Iran was excellent. The economy was better. And look, the argument that the country would unravel and democracy would die in darkness and Trump would be this authoritarian, Hitlerian power, it was impossible to make that argument in the run-up to this election only because Americans had lived through 4 years of him and things didn't fall apart. Now, am I still worried about his character? Am I worried about things like January 6th? Yes. But I would say, you know, the sign of an open mind and the sign of a thinking person is a person that's able to sort of take on new information and adjust your priors and adjust your view. And that's where I'd say I am right now.
I'd say being too worried about January 6th is sort of missing the point, but it's good to have her on the other side. All right, President Trump talking about losing $1.9 trillion on trade and being fleeced by NATO.
Looking at many countries, they all want to do, just so you understand the power of what I'm doing, every country is calling and being very solicitous of us. Very, very nice. They're being very nice. And we have to be able to justify, this is not sustainable. The United States can't lose $1.9 trillion on trade. We can't do that and also spend a lot of money on NATO in order to protect European nations. We cover them with military, then we lose money on trade. It's the whole...
President Trump does a lot of these up in the airplane interviews. It's just so nice to have these interviews compared to Joe Biden being held in the basement. We don't know who was running the country. It was Obama's team. It wasn't Joe Biden. Trump is running this team. He can speak on all of the issues on a daily basis. This is the type of daily check-in I've been rooting for.
The whole thing is crazy, and I got elected on that basis. We explained it. You know, the American people understand it a lot better than the media, but the media understands it, and much of the media writes correctly about it, I must say. I've spoken to many.
There you go. Only under a Trump presidency. Only under a Trump presidency. Would outlets paint oil prices dropping to a 3-year low as a bad thing? Did you hear that one? P.S. Since when does anyone at the New York Times care about the oil industry in Texas? Political theater propagated by left-leaning news organizations is still alive and well. Oil prices tumble further as Trump's tariffs weigh an economic outlook. Oh my gosh. They're tumbling. Cheaper oil, generally good for consumers and businesses that use gas, diesel, and jet fuel. But if prices remain around these levels or fall further, U.S. oil and gas companies are likely to slow drilling, cut spending, and lay off workers. That would be especially painful to oil-rich states like Texas and New Mexico. Yep, Democrats did not care about this time when things were really difficult. They only care about one time. It's just, I hope we've learned how to not jump into the panic of what the libs are pushing. Nate's toe? I hope he's doing okay. Who's a famous Nate that we would talk about their toe? Nate Thurmond? Wow, that's a reference. Basketball reference back in the 70s. Nate Burleson, he was a football player. Why would we care about his toe? Nate. Famous Nates. Yeah, NATO. Yeah, this whole NATO thing as well, like re-examining what we're doing. Very overdue. Cat Turd here says, yes, the Florida Senate just passed a bill banning the thing our government says doesn't exist, and we all knew it did. Leading report says, breaking, Florida Senate has passed a bill banning geoengineering and weather modification. Yeah, but they told you this wasn't happening, remember? Wake Up Right here says, let's go side by side. The experts telling you Trump's tariffs will cause prices to explode are the same people who told you inflation under Biden was no big deal. And his economy was actually sunshine and rainbows. Facts matter. In 2018, when Trump put 20% tariffs on China, prices rose by less than 1%. Real talk. What you're witnessing right now is a coordinated campaign by Democrats, the media, and corporate oligarchs to shake consumer confidence, which is you, and to spark a recession. This is an information war. Be sure you put your feet in the right place, then stand firm. Let's see what I can find out about this Dan Norris. What can I find out about Dan Norris? See if this story pops. Dan Norris, the Labour MP for Northeast Somerset and Hanham in the outgoing West of England Metro Mayor, was arrested on April 4th, Friday, taken into custody for serious offenses against a girl, even more serious offenses, child abduction, misconduct in public office, released on conditional bail. 65-year-old. No charges have been filed as of the current date. Okay. Everyone's innocent unless or until proven guilty. But in the UK, people are wondering why they're not going after the child abuse gangs. And they're saying, well, maybe they're in on it too. Sickening. That's from Europe on top. Keep your eyes peeled on this MP Dan Norris arrest. No charges yet. Arrests don't mean anything. Charges start to mean something. Convictions mean something. Getting past the appeal process is kind of like where you're at. But protect the kids. All right, Atlas Society here saying, eat the rich. Elon goes, you know what? You're right. Some Congress members are suspiciously getting very wealthy. No, not them. Can't go after those rich people, right? Right. Corey DeAngelis reminding us the Colorado House Democrats just passed a bill that classifies misgendering your own child as child abuse. It could cause you to lose custody if you don't affirm your child's chosen gender. The vote was 36-20, and it now goes to the Senate. Yeah, get out of Colorado, people. Here's another market morality here. The rich are evil. They hoard everything while we suffer. Eat the rich. Burn it all down. Breaking market crashes. Tech stocks are wiped out. Wait, what? No, my tech stocks, my trust fund. Because yes, we don't mind if it all comes down, but we are also connected to it. So what is the controlled demolition that's going to make the most sense with the least amount of collateral damage? I think it's fair to ask that, because we are all sort of wrapped up in it to one degree or another. Sean Farash says Trump just took the Great Reset, slapped some tariffs on it, and turned it into the greatest reset. America was not supposed to stand up for itself ever again. This country was on the path to being permanently kneecapped. The world is acting negatively to America's strength. Yeah.
Have you seen?
And if you have a little frustration about the future of this country, take a listen here. Teenage boys, are they becoming more beta? Or are they becoming more right-wing?
The data showing the movement of teenage boys politically to the right. Have you been looking at this?
Well, where else are they going to go?
It's a good question.
I mean, I had a teenage boy. I still have one, but he's 18 now. And I watched them be pushed farther and farther right by their schools. You suck. All of your instincts are bad.
Yep.
These girls are amazing. Look at you. You're pathetic. Be less masculine and more attractive. You're just barking at them constantly. They're not moving right. They're moving out of your stupid way. You've given them what? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. One of my son's friends died recently by his own hand. And I don't know what kind of pressures he was put under. But I watched those kids go through this pressure cooker created by this crazy, parasitized, left-wing educational movement. Get away from our sons.
Yeah.
Get away from our daughters. Get away from our sons and away from our daughters. It's not left or right. I don't have a Republican bone in my body. Get the crazy people who do not understand human development away from our children.
Yeah. Get the indoctrinated
Have you seen-
away. Keep them far away. Please. Newsmax reporting about the hands-off protests. These are the left's latest fail.
These hands-off protests yesterday were nothing more than a bunch of rich liberals melting down and throwing tantrums because their candidate did not win in November. They can't handle the fact that President Trump won with a decisive mandate. He won every single swing state, the House, the Senate, the popular vote, you name it. And what really confounded me about these hands-off protests, the messaging seemed really inconsistent, right? You had a Palestine flag next to a rainbow flag. Those two usually don't go together. If you're gay in Gaza, you're probably being thrown off of a building. Then they had Tesla signs. They were protesting Elon Musk and Trump. It was all really jumbled. Number one rule of a protest, you guys, make sure your messaging is consistent. And they're also flexing the fact that they got thousands of people to show up in deep blue Chicago to protest Trump. You could get thousands of people to show up in Chicago if you were handing out free popsicles. So if this is what the resistance is like 100 days in, it's going to be a long 4 years for the Democrats.
And
these hands-off protests yesterday were...
Yeah, they're pretty goofy. There are 195 countries on Earth. 170. Is there 195? I looked this up the other day. It might be 195, actually. How many countries on Earth who are the most obscure countries? Yeah, it is 195. Let's see if I can get an answer on what the most obscure. Tuvalu in the South Pacific, in between Hawaii and Australia. Nauru off the coast of Australia. Kiribati by the international date line. Comoros, Indian Ocean off Africa. Sao Tome and Principe, West Africa off the coast of Guinea. San Marino. They're landlocked and tiny, nestled in Italy. Interesting. There are 195 countries on Earth. 176 of those have tariffs on America. Tell me again that tariffs don't work. Why are they all using tariffs if they don't work? And if it's okay for them to use tariffs, why isn't it okay for us to do it? And if it's not okay to use tariffs, why don't we put them on to get them to take them off? I don't really understand what the left is trying to get at with their complaints. Oh, here you go. Here's Americans watching Europeans get arrested for social media posts. Ha ha ha. Laughs in 600 million firearms. Yeah, don't come mess with us, please. No step on snack. Stay away. Wait, this was part 1 and part 2. Let me see if this gives me more context.
Did the U.S. Census Bureau do anything to identify the immigration or citizenship status of individuals surveyed during the 2020 census, yes or no?
No.
Are illegals counted in the census, yes or no?
Yes, if they're permanent residents, if they reside in the U.S.
Okay, so when you're doing the census with folks and asking the question, you're asking them if you're not asking if they're a citizen, you're asking, do you ask if they're a permanent resident?
We ask folks to list everyone who lives at that residence.
Okay, but you're saying you're only counting illegals if they're a permanent resident.
Oh, if they live at that residence. It's the interpretation of the instructions.
So your definition of permanent residence is that they live at a place in the U.S., at a U.S. address.
Yes, I believe I misspoke because there's a legal definition to permanent. Yeah, to permanent resident. It's someone who usually lives at that address.
So I'm going to ask the question again. Are illegal aliens, criminal illegal aliens, the people that break the law coming into our country when they enter in the door illegally, are they counted in the U.S. Census, yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Are there political implications for congressional apportionment and the Electoral College when we're counting non-citizens, when we're counting illegals, criminal illegal aliens in the census, yes or no?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the question.
Are there political implications for congressional apportionment and the Electoral College when you are counting criminal illegal aliens in the U.S. Census?
I do not know.
Oh, you absolutely know. Because apportionment is based on what? Is it based on what? Population?
Yes.
Population based on counts in the what? U.S. Census?
Correct.
All right. You're the director of the U.S. Census Bureau, correct?
Correct.
This census thing is a mess. And we've got to unravel this before our nation is stolen from us like we've seen all across Europe.
Why is this so difficult for you to answer honestly?
Well, no, it is what it is. So if there's more population, then you get.
You just said you didn't know if there were political implications for congressional apportionment and the Electoral College when you're counting illegals.
In all honesty, I am not a politician. I'm a scientist, and so we do our counts according to the Constitution.
Okay, Mr. Science.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
When you're doing apportionment, we're doing congressional seats based on
Mr. Science.
Population that includes illegal aliens. Does that have a political impact in campaigns when you're drawing those lines and having people vote in those elections?
They are counted in apportionment, yes.
Okay. You're not being honest this morning, and I think it's a slap in the face to the American people. If apportionment of congressional seats is based on the census and roughly 750,000 people per congressional seat in this country, would that unfairly impact how congressional seats are drawn, yes or no?
I'm sorry, you're speaking too fast for me. Can you...
Okay, that part we played a little bit earlier. Yeah, we got to fix this census stuff. And we also got to address these human trafficking rings that Biden, Harris, the Democrat Party have been running. $347 million contract for trafficking unaccompanied minors.
My line in the sand moment was when I found out that GSA had awarded a contract to a company to transport unaccompanied minors.
What was that like for you?
It was like someone kicked me in my gut. Once I found out about the contract, after that night, I got on my computer and I started doing a Google search.
Action obligation for...
Number one most useful tool, don't use Google. They don't like you. They don't like the New American Media. They don't like the Agree to Disagree show. They don't like the TNAM AM show. They don't like facts. They like trying to warp reality to fit whatever it is they're pushing at the moment. Search with Grok. Search with Yandex. Get away from Google when you're doing a search. Grok has done a pretty good job. None of these sites are perfect. I wouldn't count on any of them to I would encourage you to remember that you can't really trust any of them completely. Let's leave it at that. But please get away from Google search. Try Yandex or Grok.
40 million. Total contract value, 347 million. That's over $250 million. That's a lot of money to transport unaccompanied children. I mean, this is a big money business.
And that's why we're sitting here today, because as I shared before, what you know, you cannot unknow. My line in the sand.
There you go. Oh, so much nefarious.
Hey, the president.
Here's the. I wonder if I'm going to get a copyright from the clown show music here with Clown Jean-Pierre.
Directed his trade representative to increase tariffs under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974 on $18 billion of imports from China. This action will protect American workers and businesses from China's unfair trade practices. As you heard, the president often say American workers and businesses can outcompete anyone. The president.
So, you know, they increased tariffs under Section 3.1 of the Trade Act of 74. Okay.
This can't be real.
What do we have here?
A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying.
Standing and silently praying. You see pictures of all over the streets, people out in the sidewalks and in the streets, down on prayer rugs, praying. So is it just that the UK hates Christians and hates Christianity? When did the UK fall?
For 3 minutes, not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own.
And this wasn't blocking bare access or injuring somebody as they try to get in and you're trying to block them from coming and going, wrongful imprisonment and, you know, terroristic threats and stuff. It's just a guy standing and silently praying. If this is being reported accurately, whoa.
After British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decisions within 200 meters of an abortion facility. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing
now Scotland
letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes
within their homes is something they're going to try to ruin your life over.
May amount to breaking the law. The government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
This can't be real. And that's why we have to rethink our partnerships and alliances.
Pointing out this morning.
Yeah. Chad Prather shares this one. Don't be a PANICAN.
And the president has been pointing it out. Rates are plummeting. Oil prices are plummeting. Deregulation is happening. You know, we've got all of these things happening. President Trump is not going to bend. He told me, you know, a number of times that he's trying to build the economy and make it independent as opposed to relying on China for things like prescription drugs. Pointing out this morning, and the president has been pointing it out. Rates are plummeting. Oil prices are plummeting.
Right.
Deregulation is happening. Yeah. You know, we've got all of these things happening. President Trump is not going to bend. He told me, a number of times that he's trying to build the economy and make it independent as opposed to relying on China for things like prescription drugs. Pointing out.
Yeah, they're just so good at repeating these comments. Yeah, President Trump said, don't be a panicking. Crude oil is down. Gas prices are down. There are things that are happening that are really good. Jobs numbers are up. Miss Muckraker says, trust the process. U.S. inflation is continuing to plummet, according to Trueflation. U.S. inflation index down 1.22%. It means your dollars are going further. Trump, minutes before U.S. markets open, he says, don't be weak, don't be stupid, don't be a panicking. Over $2.1 trillion wiped out from the U.S. stock market at open. Crude oil futures are down for the first time in 4 years, under $60 a barrel. Eric Daughtry says these two men have a strategy. They're fully implementing the Trump tariff agenda. They understand markets. Let the emotional reaction wear off and watch their plan play out. Treasury Secretary Bessent, the top 10% of Americans own 88% of equities, 88% of the stock market. The next 40% owns 12% of the stock market. The bottom 50 has debt. They have credit card bills. They rent their homes. They have auto loans, and we've got to give them some relief. Thailand Stock Exchange temporarily bans short selling. Whoa. European Union says they're ready to negotiate with the U.S., says they've offered 0-for-0 tariffs. The announcement was made by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Quote, Europe is always ready for a good deal, so we keep it on the table, she said. Von der Leyen added the EU offered 0-for-0 tariffs for industrial goods because Europe is always ready for a good deal. There you go. There you go. Hey, check this one out. Russell Brand is showing this. Russell Brand in the news lately. I wonder what the music's going to be. I might have to turn the music off. He said somebody used AI and turned the Bible into a movie trailer. Look, I'll mute the... Just insert epic music here. Would you watch the Bible as a movie? Oh, hold on.
Good. By the way, out of our team, who here is a Christian? I'm, of course, I don't know if I've mentioned it, I'm a Christian. You, Jake?
Yep, Christian.
Follower of Christ. Isaac, could you just say your full name?
Isaac Levi.
That's the priest class, eh? Leviticus, like that book, yeah. Read the Bible, second part's better. Massey, you're generally speaking, what are you, an atheist, a secularist, an agnostic? I mean, what do you make of it?
I'm atheist, but I was christened, but this is enough to make me get confirmed. This is pretty badass. I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? Because I think over the course, while we're all working together, I feel like the Christian members of the team, we're quite expansionist, and we're sort of working. I do quite a lot of work on Isaac. Luke, I think, well, like most of the team's been Christian.
Quite a lot of work.
Longer than me. Do you think that we should tacitly make it part of our shared community goal to get Massey and Isaac in particular to come to the Lord?
Oh, that is my only goal. That's the only thing I think about every day when I come into work here, for sure.
Because sometimes you do seem distracted, because I sometimes see some of the stuff you're putting on X, and I'm thinking, this guy's just thinking about converting Massey, otherwise he wouldn't be making these controversial statements.
I would watch a movie like that. Would you watch the Bible movie? Yeah, so the European Union saying they're ready to discuss 0-for-0 tariffs with the United States. Yeah, the prayer police out of control. David saying the UK fell a long time ago. All right, well, how long ago? A couple years? A couple decades? Has it always been this backward? Am I just now noticing how bad it's been? Let's listen to a talk about what's going on with the gaslighting and the tariffs and a nuanced perspective.
You a little bit of all sides. Let me tell you what I think. And not to drag it out, but before I do, here's what I want to say. When a Democrat is in power and the stocks aren't doing well, Democrats will tell you, well, it's not all about the stock market. That's just for the millionaires and the billionaires and the trillionaires and the gazillionaires, and I'm just making stuff up. But
That's what they say. Oh, you don't, it's stock market. That's not it. It's not like that impacts us. It impacts all of us. Of course it does. But the Democrat legacy media downplays it when it's detrimental to their side. I know that the right wing does it. I'm just asking that you add a little balance, add a little bit of nuance to it, and just be a savvy consumer of what you're being fed with the propaganda. Oh my gosh, look at this. Oh my gosh, such a crash. Zoom out a little bit. You're up 60% in the last 5 years, 58%. Like, come on. You got to have some nuance.
It's just them. You know, the average person doesn't benefit from stocks, in which average people that do benefit from stocks that are conservative say, what are you talking about? I know in my own personal family and friend sphere, plenty of working class people who've saved up their whole lives and invested in stocks, and they're not rich or upper class by any means. They're not Elon Musk. Of course they want the stocks to go up. I shouldn't even have to explain why some people want the stocks to go up, because all you have to do is listen to Trump administration people and supporters when Trump's out of office about how important the stock market is and how average people, not just millionaires and billionaires, benefit from that. Now it's like this inverse thing like it is on Tesla. I just find it fascinating as somebody that's not completely insane. But when I see this stuff, I do feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Now Democrats are really concerned that the stocks are falling. And now it's like Republicans like, suck it up, buttercup. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's just the stock market. We need this slow pain to get the gain. I completely understand that ideology. In fact, I hope that it's true. I hope America flourishes. I hope it brings back jobs. I hope it forces other countries to lower tariffs quickly so this doesn't go on forever. It's just watching the two parties flip and say the exact thing that they used to fight and becoming each other. It's just getting to the point where I feel like I'm in a stupid movie and people are acting like such NPCs. It's hard to believe they're even real. But with all that being said, I think it's a double-edged sword that we'll have to watch play out to see how it really works. In one case, I do think America has been a victim to globalism and we have turned our back on the working class people, sent jobs overseas, and just neglected normal people for a long time. I don't think it's just tariffs or trade that has done that. I think the bigger culprit is probably the Federal Reserve. I think the bigger culprits are the politicians and the inflation of our currency through just printing trillions of dollars over the course of time. So even as somebody that does know that this is true with the working class people in America, I'm not sure that international trade is the biggest culprit, but it's definitely one of them. And when you bring back American jobs, which I want to do, I think it's also a double-edged sword.
Because you'll have to pay those people a little bit more, which means the prices will be a little higher, but you're going to have fewer people on welfare, fewer people taking handouts and voting Democrat because you think the only way you can survive is with handouts from daddy government.
Because if you look at places like China that are producing way more than they probably used to, and a lot of our goods, the air quality is absolutely abysmal in some of those cities, and they pay the price for just building factories everywhere. And also when it comes to the United States of America, illegal immigration has played a huge role in the job market.
Because most of those new jobs over the past couple of years have gone to illegal aliens instead of American citizens. Remember, they're eating the dogs. They said, sir, what about the cats? I think they're eating the cats. Maybe the geese. And they dumped 30,000 Haitians. Were they Jamaicans or Haitians? Maybe Haitians. Into Columbus, Ohio. That's like putting 30,000 University of Michigan Wolverine fans in Columbus. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. There's people there that need jobs. Oh no, we can't find people to work. Oh, they're all drug addicted. Well, then you fix that. You provide that type of treatment. You don't just replace the American worker with imports, non-Americans, non-citizens. That's crazy.
And the supply and demand of how much people are making, I would say that that has affected wages and the average American worker just as much, if not more, than tariffs. And for those wondering, I'm not purposely playing centrist. Of course, I do want to do a good journalistic job to show you both sides of the equation. But what do I think? I mean, time will tell. On one hand, I understand what Thomas Sowell, Rand Paul, and these libertarians are saying because they have a very specific economic policy. In fact, here's very famous libertarian that I know all my libertarian friends love, Milton Friedman, talking about how tariffs are basically shooting a hole in the bottom of your boat, and adding more is just shooting more holes.
President Reagan. I played you this earlier, where he's against the tariffs. But that's where let me just point out that adding more tariffs to keep them there is different than adding them to get the other nations to remove them. Oh, the bloody lot of you, isn't it? Let's all just talk British from now on, isn't it? Okay, David saying it's always been this backward with England, and it's just being brought into the light more now. Oh no, we're not talking about hot dogs, are we? Podesta. Okay. Here is a report about what's happening pretty quickly from Taiwan and India, Israel, Vietnam, and Cambodia with their tariffs.
A report from the USTR last night that more than 50 countries have reached out to the president to begin a negotiation. But they're doing that because they understand that they bear a lot of the tariff. And so I don't think that you're going to see a big effect on the consumer in the U.S. because I do think that the reason why we have a persistent long-run trade deficit is these people have very inelastic supply. They've been dumping goods into the country in order to create jobs, say, in China. I got a report.
There you go. India, Israel, Vietnam, Cambodia, allegedly Taiwan offering to drop their interest or their tariffs 0 for 0. Thank you, Scott Jennings. Talk about the difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden during the presidency. I mean, it's not just night and day. It is light years. It's a blazing supernova versus being blindfolded in the basement.
The Biden administration treated the press as poorly as any president has ever treated them, gave them less access, answered no questions, no transparency at any given time. Donald Trump's answered more questions in 3 weeks than Joe Biden answered in 4 years. Elon Musk answered more than
also, a lot of the answers.
Come on, Brian.
Also,
this administration is giving the most access to the press they could possibly want. The Biden administration.
That is true. You never saw from Joe Biden. Hardly ever. Here is a California high school student, Taylor Starling, who's been training 6 days a week and ran every varsity race in her school. But now she's talking to state lawmakers because something has changed.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Taylor Starling. I'm 16 years old and I attend Martin Luther King High School. I have a 4.0 GPA, serve as vice president of my junior class, and volunteer with National Women's Charity League, and lead as captain of my school's cross-country and track and field teams. I was removed from my varsity girls team and replaced by a newly eligible male transfer student who received favorable treatment. I worked every day during summer with my team and into the school year 6 days a week, waking up at 5 a.m. to attend morning practices and staying at school until 4:45 each day. My goal was to attain a varsity spot on my school's Division I CIF team. Not an easy feat, but one I accomplished. Since the start of the season in August, I ran in every varsity race. In late October, the male transfer student was given my spot after not being held to the same strict team requirements as me and the rest of the girls. He did not have to attend practice while my team and I were running 7 miles a day together. After having my spot taken away from me that I earned, I missed out on running with my varsity team in one of the top cross-country invitationals of the season. As a result of this unfair treatment, my teammate Caitlin and I wore shirts that said Save Girls Sports and stated that boys and girls are different. It's common sense. XX does not equal XY. This is not hateful or unkind. This is reality. However, our athletic director made me remove my shirt and told me it was like wearing a swastika in front of a Jewish person and said that I would face disciplinary action if I wore it again.
They're leaving you no choice. You have to stand up and put a line in the sand. We're not doing this.
My Title IX and free speech rights as a female matter too. Why are girls being told that we must sit down and be quiet while boys unfairly get ahead of us in life? Why do boys not have to attend practice and make the sacrifices that us girls make in order to be scholar athletes? Just because those boys believe they are transgender. Girls matter too. Please protect us. Thank you. Good morning.
That makes me really angry. Why isn't ESPN doing a profile on this young woman's loss of civil liberties? That's madness. If your chromosomes include a Y in sports, you must compete with guys. I did play this Elon Jesse Waters clip earlier. Tucker Carlson says, whatever you think of tariffs, It's clear that now is the worst possible time for the United States to participate in a military strike on Iran. We can't afford it. Thousands of Americans would die. We'd lose the war that follows. Nothing would be more destructive to our country. And yet we're closer than ever thanks to unrelenting pressure from neocons. This is suicidal. Anyone advocating for conflict with Iran is not an ally of the United States, but an enemy. So, who exactly is pushing for this? Why is the United States getting dragged into this? Representative Eli Crane says, the real question I have is why did Congress sit back and let the federal government become the mess it has over the last few decades? They've been signing off on it the entire time, every step of the way. I can't believe things have gotten this bad. It's shocking. We're going to go ahead and switch over to our X feed and run through the lightning round here. Yeah, there is no more common sense. Let's go ahead and see what's trending here on X. Make sure you're following us at American_media_. What is this one? Talking about the protests. Air quote protests.
This past weekend, I went undercover as a
It's theater.
Democrat voter to a Tesla protest here in Atlanta, Georgia. I wanted to go undercover to better understand, first of all, why they're protesting, but also I wanted to find out, are they actually being paid to protest? I just wanted to investigate this claim of Elon Musk that they are literally paid protesters. So first of all, here's the demographic of the people at the protest. The majority of the people that I saw there were white boomers. And the boomers would sometimes even have their parents there with them. The women had really nice name brand bags and purses, and the husbands looked like they were just dragged out there. I'm telling you guys this because this doesn't fit the
That's how it goes a lot of the time.
people who are paid to protest. And this also kind of debunks the left's claim that these are disenfranchised MAGA voters. All of these people voted for Kamala. But that doesn't mean that George Soros didn't fund this and didn't organize this with his money. So the people protesting may not be actually paid, but the people who organize the protest are, and I'm going to show you guys how. This right here is one of those paid organizers, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how she gets paid. Remember last year with the college encampments, how certain George Soros-tied organizations received endless amount of money from George Soros so they can disperse it to organizers? And those organizers were getting paid upwards of $7,800 just to protest for 8 hours a week. Well, the exact same thing is happening here. Here are 5 radical leftist groups protesting Elon Musk, one of which received $7.6 million, none other than from George Soros. And one of those groups, known as Invisible Project, received that $7.6 million from George Soros to...
I think he said Invisible Project. It's indivisible.
And one of those groups, known as Invisible Project, received that $7.6 million from George Soros to do exactly what you guys are seeing, to boycott and to protest anything related to President Trump. So it's very safe to say that the people protesting are probably not getting paid, but the organizers, they're getting a nice paycheck. So Elon, you're right in a sense. These people aren't paid protesters, but the people organizing this definitely are.
Yeah, that is really great money for 8 hours, isn't it? Get in on some of that action. Brian Cates here. Switch the screen so you can see it. Okay, Rand Paul Review says Rand Paul proposes a bill to require the president to go to Congress to approve new tariffs. This is the constitutional approach, says Rand Paul Review. Brian Cates says our Congress is utterly and completely and totally compromised. Rand Paul is upset that after Congress spent decades doing nothing to cure the trade imbalances ballooning to cartoonish proportions while taking sweet, sweet lobbyist cash, President Trump took action to fix the national security crisis. And the solution Paul comes up with is taking more power away from the chief executive and giving it to the do-nothing Congress? Not just no, Rand, but hell no. Here's why the Democrats are outraged over tariffs. Here's Trump talking with Joe Rogan.
Unless they pay a big price. and the big price is tariffs. And he'd speak like that, but he was right. And then around in the early 1900s, they switched over stupidly to, frankly, an income tax. And you know why? Because countries were putting a lot of pressure on America. We don't want to pay tariffs. Please don't. You know, they, believe me, they control our politicians. If you look at the kind of numbers that these guys make then and now, but we had a commission meeting in the, I think it was 1887. Think of this problem. We were so rich, we had so much money, we didn't know what to do. So they set up a blue ribbon commission on tariffs. And the sole purpose is what to do with all the money we had. We were so rich because we were taxing other people for coming in and taking our jobs. And China does it. That's what China did. If you want to open a factory and sell cars, if you build a factory here or have a factory, they don't take our cars. They wouldn't take our cars. But if you build a plant in China, you can do that. Elon did that. By the way, Elon is great. That guy is such a great guy. I think you're a fan of Elon. Him. He is from a different planet. He's the greatest guy. That rocket coming in.
He might literally be from another planet, by the way. But yeah, Donald Trump revealed the only reason we're still paying an income tax in America is because U.S. politicians are paid off by foreign countries to not mandate tariffs. Anyone complaining is selling you out. You should be furious. I will put this on the screen. For countervailing views on health and elections, go to cdc.gov, who.int, and cisa.gov/rumor control for countervailing views. We'll get to the Bobby Kennedy thing in a second here. Get to the comments. Hello, Holly. Have you been to a Reds game yet? I think it's supposed to be the Cleveland Indians, Guardians. The Cleveland sports home opener tomorrow, maybe? It was snow yesterday, so we'll see if it's snowy. New renovations to the ballpark. I look forward to going. Haven't been in a minute. What do we got here? Holly says, I saw pictures of local protests here, mainly shared by friends in my social media who were there protesting. Interesting to me was that it appeared more were there regarding LGB-related concerns. Very few there were concerned about spending. Huh. The signs were full of Nazi symbols. I saw nothing come from anyone that provided solutions. The message was confusing to me. Hands off of what? I elected Trump to be a hands-on leader. Well, there you go. You're going to Pirates at the Reds on Saturday. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, David, you got to elaborate. You don't think that's the same Elon? What do you mean? Can you elaborate on that? Because he had hair plugs? Or is he cloned? What do you mean not the same Elon? I am curious now. But yes, countervailing views. Go ahead and check out the stuff at the bottom of the screen. But this is a post about, hang on, is this him and his words?
And I never knew what happened.
Well, let's listen to RFK in his own words.
A neurological injury in
talking about his vocal cord, a neurological injury.
1996.
96.
When I was 42 years old. And it's called spasmodic dystonia.
And I think that's what Scott Adams had. And he wasn't able to speak for a while, and he had to figure it out.
And I never knew what happened. The doctors would ask me, did you have a trauma? And then about 3 years ago, I was litigating against the flu vaccine.
Spasmodic dysphoria, and he was litigating against the flu vaccine, he's saying.
Preparing a complaint against all the companies that made flu vaccines, certain kind of flu vaccines. And I had to, for the first time, look at all the list of side effects that are on the manufacturer's inserts. And this disease, spasmodic dystonia, was one of the top injuries.
One of the top injuries. Wow. Okay. I wish it wasn't taboo to discuss the injuries that people suffer. It's all about money, right? Can't even have these conversations. It's crazy to me. Oh, saying David Bann saying that Elon was very satanic before, all of a sudden had a change of heart. Now I remember he wore that costume with like the, I don't know, whatever symbology was on that. It was like, that raised some eyebrows. But other than the costume, was he doing a bunch of stuff? I remember the costume for like a Halloween thing, and it's like, why are you dressing up like a Beelzebub or whatever? European Union, here they are talking about European Union Commission President Ursula, here in her words now. I told you this before. Luke Radowski saying, looks like Trump's plan is somewhat working.
We stand ready to negotiate with the United States. Indeed, we have offered 0 for 0 tariffs for industrial goods, as we have successfully done with many other trading partners, because Europe is always ready for a good deal. So we keep it on the table. But we are also prepared to respond through countermeasures and defend our interests. We stand.
Okay, so there's a little extra there that the other report I read didn't. You know, puts it out there, but then also says, "Oh, but we can go worse too." Okay, well, that's them negotiating. But that's why I will go to different sources covering the same story, because right there,
respond through countermeasures and defend our
countermeasures defending their interests was not in the other story. So it's important to know. You know, we think about this war with Russia as something. It might as well be out on Venus. It doesn't impact us. It has nothing to do with us, really. Right? Well, check this out. Whoop, why didn't it play? Try it again.
Not all Americans know that the US and Russia are actually much closer to each other, just 2 miles apart. And more than that, they are even connected. Sometimes, and here is why. The countries are separated by the Bering Strait. And if we look closer here, we can see 2 tiny Diomede islands which are 2.4 miles apart and divide the mainland of the US and the mainland of Russia. Little Diomede belongs to the USA, and it is home to one of the most isolated towns in the USA called Diomede, with a population of 82 people. Big Diomede belongs to Russia, and it is
Can I move to Diomede?
Uninhabited. Only military personnel are present. Therefore, Diomede is the closest American town to Russia, separated by 2 miles of water. And the point is that in the winter, the water freezes and creates an ice bridge between the 2 countries, and thus making it possible to cross the border by land. Interesting that there is an international date line between these 2 islands. The difference between them is 21 hours. And if you cross the border from the US side, you will be in the future and become a kind of time traveler.
Yeah, I've been saying that. It's like we're right there. The Aleutian Islands, Alaska, Russia, we're right there. This isn't some far distant thing. Here you go. This one is regarding the protesters. This one is for Holly, talking about what they're saying. European? That's what the man next to me said in the restroom. Hey-o, Kenneth. Yeah, let's ask the protesters. What are you up to? What brought you up? Okay.
And what brings you out here today?
What doesn't?
What doesn't? Oh, that is so weak.
Can you explain a little bit for our viewers what this means?
Go ahead.
Raise your hand out.
Cactostocracy.
And she tells him to look at the handout. Oh, you're wearing is that a Cleveland baseball? He's wearing Cleveland baseball. I bet he has a Guardians hat on, not an Indians.
Government by the least suitable or competent citizens of a state. Seems to fit, doesn't it?
And what brings you out?
Good grief. Honey, what's that sign say I'm supposed to say? Okay. Yeah, stock markets today are down. Let's go ahead and do a check on our 1 day. Down 1% today. Oh, I'm sorry. It's almost in the green. Here, let's share this tab instead. It's down 0.20 today. With a quick refresh, we might be able to get it in the green. Oh, geez. Sorry, wrong aspect ratio. How do I switch this? Where am I? Ah, there we go. 0.30. Almost in the green. If it can come out in the green, that would be great. Oh, moving in the wrong direction. Okay, anyway, is what it is. Next. So the Federal Reserve has announced a closed board meeting for today. And they're urging a rate cut. Closed door meeting. President Trump says this: oil prices are down, interest rates are down. The slow-moving Fed should cut rates. Food prices are down. There is no inflation. And the long-time abused USA is bringing in billions of dollars a week from the abusing countries on tariffs that are already in place. This is despite the fact that the biggest abuser of them all, China, whose markets are crashing, just raised its tariffs by 34% on top of the long-term ridiculously high tariffs. Plus, not acknowledging my warning for abusing countries not to retaliate. They've made enough for decades, taking advantage of the good old USA. Our past leaders are to blame for allowing this and so much else to happen to our country. Make America great again. Elon says the problem is the puppet masters, not the puppets, as the latter have no idea why they're even there. Here, let's hear what the puppets are saying.
So what makes Trump a fascist? What makes Trump a fascist?
He does things without
You gotta talk loud. I don't have my mic on.
I'm not really good into interviews. Stuff like that.
Sorry?
He just doesn't. He just does everything he wants, and not following laws or
This is so sad.
He's a convicted felon. That's all I know.
That's all I know. He's a convicted felon.
But your sign says he's a fascist, and I'm just curious what makes him a fascist.
One of the things is that he's trying to control the media, right?
Say that again?
He's trying to control the narrative.
How is he trying to control the media? Doesn't every president try to control the narrative?
They try to control their own narrative, but one of the things that Trump's has done, for example, is the renaming the Gulf of Mexico, and then not allowing the Associated Press to come into the White House. Basically, trying to get.
What are your feelings about him renaming the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America when a majority of the Gulf is in fact on the coast of America as opposed to Mexico?
I mean, it's kind of pointless. People.
Is it pointless?
Yeah, people call it the Gulf of Mexico. What's the
Don't
point
you think
of
it could have a
changing the name?
positive tourism impact potentially?
Tourism has been down heavily.
So I don't want to get into a tourism debate. My question is, the sign says the fascist Trump regime must go.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious what makes him a fascist. You pointed out that maybe something about his relationship with the media, he wants to control it, but
yeah.
How? Again, you're calling him a fascist.
Yeah, well,
what makes him a fascist?
One of the core tenets of fascism is creating an enemy, right, and blaming those problems on
What's
the enemy.
that?
Oh, yeah, so the paper gave me, yeah.
Who gave you that?
The people that gave me the sign. It's a free sign.
Oh, someone
People gave me the free sign and gave me a paper for what to say.
gave you the sign, and then they gave you the handout. So are you reading it now to try to answer the question?
Yeah, but I mean,
Can I see that? Can you hold that up?
I'm just
curious.
Maybe you can have it.
I can have it?
Yeah, you can have it.
Alrighty. So where did you get the sign?
All the way in
Got a stack of these papers. You can have it. He's like, oh, I can have it? Cool. Turns around. He's pulling out another one of these. This is so AstroTurf, so phony. These people don't really have any coherent thoughts.
Gatekeeper's house.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just
Gatekeeper's house?
And that's another one? They gave you
I want these people talking as much as possible.
two pieces of paper? Can I have that one too?
Yes, you can have both.
Oh, okay. So what brings you guys out here today?
Just because I saw people were hanging out with people from
Same thing as everyone else, executive overreach.
Oh.
Executive overreach. There's that Minnesota Food Bank CEO stepping down. Yeah, Kenneth. There's your Minnesota Food Bank CEO stepping down from her $721,000 salary. That's a good gig if you can get it, I would say. This has been reported that two men faced each other for a women's championship title at the Ultimate Pool Women's Pool Series Event 2 in the UK. Megan Kelly says, cool, congrats, guys. Enough with this. If your chromosomes include a Y in sports, you must compete with guys. Muse reporting here that former federal civil service employee and clean energy NGO exec arrested after vandalizing 5 Teslas in D.C. Justin Fisher, 49, former Fed employee, and his wife, federal employee, not Federal Reserve, and his wife, Emily Fisher, an executive at Clean Energy nonprofit, arrested and charged with defacing 5 Teslas in Washington, D.C. Get a grip, people. Here you go.
What the administration is doing, only 33% said because they like what the administration is doing. So if we want
Scott Jennings.
So if we want to just keep
question,
going,
who's more popular right now, Donald Trump or congressional Democrats?
doesn't matter. Donald Trump happens.
La-di-da-di-da. I had to mute it there. Can't do the la-di-da-di-da. Yeah, who's more popular, President Trump or congressional Democrats? It's pretty obvious. And Elon just breaking down what's going on with this illegal alien invasion brought forth by the globalists and the dirty deep state Democrat Party.
Yes. The mass immigration is insane and will lead to the destruction of any country that allows unfettered mass immigration. That country will simply cease to exist. At the end of the day, it is a numbers game, a numbers situation. If there are 8 billion people in the world, and let's say you're a country of, 50 million, 60 million, or, for a medium-sized country, but even for a country like the United States, which is 350 million, given that there are 8 billion people in the world, it only takes a few percent of the rest of the world to move to the country to where it is no longer that country. A country is not its geography. A country is its people. This is a fundamental concept that is really obvious. I mean, if you took the people of Italy and you teleported the people of Italy to, say, some part of the United States, it would still be Italy.
Yeah, they're enclaves. You've seen that in Minnesota. That's what they did in Minnesota. Ilhan Omar and the squad. That's what they were trying to do in Haiti and in Columbus. Just bring in pockets of some other country and epic. They're trying to make an Islamic city in Texas. No thanks. Assimilate. Become American. Like these, they call them on. What is the? Let me look up a definition of enclave. A distinct territory or portion of land entirely surrounded by the territory of another entity, typically a larger country or region. It can refer to a geopolitical situation where a country or area is enclosed within the borders of another. Vatican City is an enclave within Italy, specifically within the city of Rome. It can apply to smaller regions of ethnic or cultural or religious. I'm going to add that because they say Islam is essentially a political movement that is presenting as a religious movement. But the term can apply for enclave to smaller regions like ethnic or cultural or religious enclaves within a city, but in a geographic or political context, it usually describes land fully encircled by another jurisdiction. They have these no-go zones. It's like, oh no, we police our own people here. You what? You're part of this country. You don't get to make up your own stuff. Oh, I can switch it off of this CDC thing now. There we go. An enclave and a conclave
But if you teleported a bunch of people from some other part of the world to Italy, where they're telling people no longer because they've been teleported to America, then the region, the geographic region, would no longer be Italy. It would be that other country. A country is its people, not its geography.
So hopefully you got that. Elizabeth Warren lying, saying that Elon and Trump are trying to make it hard for Social Security benefits getting to seniors. That's not the fact. These programs are about ready to be bankrupt, and we're trying to save it. That's what's happening. Yesterday's show, or 2 days ago show, 2 days ago show about the Trump economy booming per jobs report, U.S. crashing per stocks, Schrodinger's economy. So yeah, the economy's booming if you look at the jobs report, or it's crashing if you look at the stock report. It's Schrodinger's economy. There you have it, folks. Let me check, see if anything is trending. Let me refresh, see if I missed any stories. Trump announces a potential 104% tariff on China. Oh, that escalated quickly. Yesterday, China, let me check the screen. There we go. Got to switch it. Yesterday, China issued retaliatory tariffs of 34% on top of their already record-setting tariffs, non-monetary tariffs, illegal subsidization of companies, and massive long-term currency manipulation, despite my warning that any country that retaliates against the U.S. by issuing additional tariffs above and beyond their already existing long-term tariff abuse of our nation will be immediately met with new and substantially higher tariffs over and above those initially set. Therefore, if China does not withdraw its 34% increase above the already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, April 8th, the United States will impose additional tariffs on China of 50%, effective April 9th. Additionally, all talks with China concerning their requested meetings with us will be terminated. Negotiations with other countries which have also requested meetings will begin taking place immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So he said an additional 50%. 50 plus 34 is 84. I don't know where they're getting 100 and... There you go. An additional 50% tariff if they don't withdraw their 34% tariff immediately. Vice President J.D. Vance says this year marks my mom's 10th year of sobriety, and I'm grateful that we're able to celebrate in the White House with our family. Mom, I'm so proud of you. Good. Let's work to get more people off of the junk. Oh, here you go. This is J.D. Vance at the convention talking about this moment.
It'll be 10 years officially in January of 2025. And if President Trump's okay with it, let's have the celebration in the White House.
How cool is that? There's President Trump with his shot ear. That's a nice moment. We do have to get more Americans off the smack. So what is this story? You're hearing the first howl of a dire wolf in over 10,000 years. Romulus and Remus, the world's first de-extinct animals born on October 1st, 24. The dire wolf has been extinct for over 10,000 years. These two wolves were brought back from extinction using genetic edits derived from a complete dire wolf genome, meticulously reconstructed by Colossal from ancient DNA found in fossils dating back 11,000 to 72,000 years. This moment marks not only a milestone for Colossal Biosciences as a company, but a leap forward for science, conservation, and humanity. From the beginning, our goal has been clear: to revolutionize history and be the first company to use CRISPR technology successfully in the de-extinction of previously lost species. By achieving this, we continue to push forward our broader mission on accepting humanity's duty to restore Earth to a healthier state. I don't know how you think it's healthier. Wait till the dinosaurs come now. But this isn't just our moment. It's one for science, our planet, and humankind, all of which we love and are passionate about. Now close your eyes and listen to that howl once more. Think about what this means for all of us. Remus the direwolf stuns on the cover of Time. Okay. And the U.S. is rejecting Vietnam's zero tariff proposal. This is trade advisor Peter Navarro, who I filmed at Milwaukee at the Republican convention. You can scroll back on Rumble and YouTube and find those videos. But Peter Navarro, the Trump trade advisor, talking about what is going on with this negotiation.
Was the president willing to negotiate? What we have here is a national emergency based on massive chronic trade deficits caused by systematically higher tariffs and non-tariff barriers. So when you ask if we're willing to negotiate, the president will always listen. But let's understand what the problem is. When you have a country like Vietnam, let's take Vietnam. When they come to us and say, we'll go to zero tariffs, that means nothing to us because it's the non-tariff cheating that matters. Let's do Vietnam, Joe. They sell us $15 for every $1 we sell them. About $5 of that 15 is China transshipping to Vietnam to evade their tariffs. What is Vietnam?
And by the way, that's exactly what they were saying about, did you just use AI to come up with these tariff numbers? I mean, there's islands not inhabited with penguins. Yeah, they're running scams. They're money laundering. They're tariff laundering.
What does Vietnam do? They dump into our markets, killing our shrimpers, our people who make metal brackets, kitchen cabinets, agricultural products. They engage in intellectual property theft. They have the biggest number of cases aside from China at the Department of Commerce on the dumping. So the point is, anybody who wants to come to talk to us about lowering your non-tariff barriers. Vietnam has a 10% VAT. Europe has a 19% VAT. We can't compete against that. We have tried at the World Trade Organization to get, Andrew, let me just make this point. We have tried at the World Trade Organization since the 1970s to get VAT tax relief, and they've told us no every single time. We've won case after case at the World Trade Organization on things like our agricultural products, pork, beef, and other, and corn.
Peter,
and they just blow us off.
So that's what we're doing. We're fixing some of this stuff. So yeah. Vietnam, when they come to us and say we'll go to zero tariffs, that means nothing to us because it's the non-tariff cheating that matters. So anyway, we'll keep our eyes peeled on how this is resolved. All right. That is what I had to share with you today on the TNAM AM Show. Thank you, everybody. David and Kenneth and Jim and Holly and everybody else lurking in the background. Thank you so much. Friendly reminder, please follow us by searching the New American Media. Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, DLive, and YouTube. Search us on the New American Media. David, thank you so much. Appreciate you. We're on Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat, on X at American_media_, and subscribe to our two podcasts. One is called The Agree to Disagree Show on Spotify and Apple, and the other is called The Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Subscribe to those, please. Donation links, patreon.com/The New American Media, at Brian Engelman on Venmo, $ Brian Engelman Cash App, and PayPal at Fuzz Installment. That's at the bottom of your screen. And of course, check out our TNAM documentary, Hurricane Helene, Help on the Way. It's on Rumble and YouTube on the New American Media channels on, Rumble and YouTube on the New American Media channels. By then, no longer Biden. Biden. I appreciate you all. Let's have the best, most successful, awesome, high energy, focused day that we've had in a long time today. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being a part of the conversation here on the New American Media. Signing out. Until next time tomorrow. I appreciate you. I love you. And we